Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi.
How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, good, good. This is another blind topic to just to keep you on your toes.
I love it.
So you can't even frame this. So I'll give a little bit of background. Do you know who Sita is? Let's start with that. Have you
No,
heard this
no,
story? Okay,
never.
so this comes from the Hindu pantheon, okay? Sita is she's a Devi. So a Devi is a goddess, or well, they have Devis and Devas, okay? The obviously the Devas are the males and the Devis are females. So Sita is a goddess of her own. She was born without sin, just like a lot of the gods and goddesses were. It's kind of like Jesus. Okay, that's the best way I can describe it. As a matter of fact, if people are interested in the stories that most closely correlate to what Jesus was actually like doing, his physical actions, the Hindu pantheon really brings a lot of light to the story. So Sita is a goddess on her own, and she decides, or she's supposed to get married to um Rama. And so as soon as they're like about to get married or they just got married, something like that, one of Rama's father's other wives had made his father promise to do anything like one wish. And so she wanted the father to send Rama away for 14 years. And the father had to agree because I guess he keeps his promises. So instead of crowning Rama, because he was about to be crowned king of the kingdom, instead of crowning Rama, he sends Rama away into the woods in exile for 14 years. Well, Rama tells Sita, "Hey, just stay here and I'll be back in 14 years. The woods is nowhere for you to go." And Sita's like, "No, I have to follow my man wherever he goes." And so, all right, the two of them and one of Rama's brothers go into the forest. Okay, so they're in the forest, they're in exile, but Sita is still happy because she's with her man. Well, there's a 12-faced god. I can never pronounce his name. He's a demon. They call him a 12-faced demon. Okay, so he sees Sita and he's like, "Yeah, I want to make her my wife." So he knows he has to get Rama away from Sita so that he can capture her. So this 12-headed demon turns himself into a golden deer. And so and Rama is a hunter. So he sees this golden deer and he goes after the golden deer. Well, the golden deer leads him on this wild goose chase, wherever. And so after a while, Rama doesn't come back. And so his brother, who has stayed in the woods with Sita, is like, "I'm gonna go after my brother because he was supposed to have been back by now and he's not back yet." And so the brother leaves Sita by herself. The 12-faced demon sees Sita by herself, grabs Sita up, takes her to Sri Lanka. And when Rama and the brother get back, they see that Sita is gone. So then they have a monkey, the monkey god. His name is Hanuman. Absolute best introductory god to the Hindu pantheon there is. I love Hanuman. Okay, so he sends Hanuman, who is basically, he's a god. Really, he has all these powers, but he loves Rama. So he sends Hanuman out to figure out where Sita is. Well, he finds where Sita is. So he goes. So he Hanuman has the capacity to do a lot of incredible things. So he can shrink himself down. So he shrunk himself down. He goes to talk to Sita. And he's like, "Okay, come with me. I'm going to take you back to Rama." And Sita's like, "No, only Rama can save me." So Sita is sitting there with this demon king and she's just like berating him, right? Like, "Rama's better than you. Rama's going to find me and he's going to kill you." Just like all this crazy stuff. So in the meanwhile, Hanuman heads back to um Rama, tells Rama where Sita is. They put together this monkey army. They go to where the 12-faced demon is. Lots of monkeys die. It's a horrible battle. And finally, Rama gets Sita out of there and they fly away basically on a magic carpet. Well, when they get back to the woods, Sita's pregnant, all right? And so for a while it's okay, but then like the word starts going around like the forest. Oh well, um uh if Sita can get pregnant and still be with Rama, then you got to be okay with whatever it is I do. This is what the men are saying to the women. And so Rama is embarrassed. So he decides, okay, I'm going to send Sita away. So he sends Sita away, like literally sends her away, knowing that she's pregnant, sends her to some guru in the woods. So at this time, the 14 years is up. Rama goes and inherits his kingdom. He just left Sita in the woods. So Sita gives birth. She has twins. Rama is blue. One of the twins is blue. So obviously these are his kids. Like there's no getting around it. And so she don't say anything bad about Rama. She teaches these kids like all this stuff about Rama. She talks about him as if he's a, like a, not that like that like he was not their father. Okay. And so the word gets around about these two singing young men who know all these songs about Rama. So Rama's like, oh, take me to see these young men. I want to hear them sing and all of this. So he sees a young man. Clearly, one of them is blue, just like him. And he's like, oh, shit, those are my kids. And he's like, children. And they're like, father. And basically, Rama invites the kids into the kingdom. Now, here's Sita. She's like, well, what about me? And he's like, well, I think you need to go through another trial to prove yourself. Maybe jump into the river, and if you float, then you are pure. I mean, no. If you sink, then you're pure. And she's like, if I am pure in my heart, let the earth open up and swallow me whole. The earth opens up. She jumps in. That's the end of the story. So, literally, this man who left her first of all, dragged her into the woods, not really dragged her, but didn't force her not to come, like brought her into the woods, accused her of messing around. Meanwhile, she was never messing around. She's always calling out for Rama, like everything in her being is loving this man, right? And literally he betrays her, like not once, like not twice, like 3 times. And that was enough for her to just say, I can't be on this planet if I have to be on this planet with this man. And so literally the earth opens up and swallows her because she came from the earth, right? She's one of these self-created goddesses. So she goes back to where she came from. Now, in hindsight, that's probably not what that means, but that's how the story is told. And so the important part, well, there's a lot of important parts of this, but what is going on right now, because there's been a huge change in the energy. So what is going on right now is that there's a lot of men out here who believe they are self-created, just like Rama, and that the women who are attached to them have no value. Now, this is a huge problem because as we've been talking, everybody has to be in their full power. The new cycle cannot start until everyone is in their full power. We have to end the old cycle of patriarchy being this thing that doesn't include the divine feminine, and start a new cycle where the feminine is seen as a valuable contributing member of society. And right now that's not what we have. And what's happening, even in my own life and in people I know, is that the men are becoming more unhinged, like totally unhinged about the value of the women in their life. So this started on Friday with the man talking about the whores and all of that, but this has just done nothing but like increase in the energy, because um you have these men who somehow believe that they are the ones with the portals. Like, that's what the whole transgender thing is. Like, oh, men have a womb, so they don't need a woman. And so this is expanded, and it's gotten so bad that it has to be like deliberately called out and explained. Otherwise, this curse of Sita, which is the women, like, you know, unendingly pledging their abundance and their life and their everything to these men, is just going to end in another disaster. So, in my own personal example, like, I spent the whole first 4 or 5 weeks where we started talking back in July about like my old man and how like I set my life up and all of this stuff. Now we're gonna end this cycle with the same thing, but I'm gonna tell the other side of the story. When me, a person, the one with the womb, gave birth to my son, okay, that's a birth that I had to go through. I didn't know I was pregnant. So there's no way I was getting any, like, some women when they're pregnant, they get like foot rubs, they complain, they have stomach issues, and they get some kind of support or whatever. So I didn't have none of that because I didn't know I was pregnant. So there was nothing for me to complain about, obviously. And so I go through this whole process. I give birth to a child, which I had to have an emergency C-section because he was 10 pounds. And then after I give birth, my old man acts as if I don't know how to take care of children. Mind you, this is my third child. There's no possible way that I don't know how to take care of my children. But he does exactly what my other children's father have done, which is basically to say to me that, oh, it's not me, it's my mom. She's the one that's good at taking care of children. I should just go and do something else. Like, I don't have the capacity to be a mother, which is, again, this just insane, unhinged behavior. Because if you are the one with a portal and you give birth to a child, you have the capacity to take care of that child, period. There's no situation where you don't. Even if you're on drugs, a lot of people who are on drugs, if they if if they really focus on the child, they will get off the drugs and they will focus on the child. So there's no situation where a mother doesn't have the capacity to take care of their child. There's just no situation for that. Unless there's some other stuff going on, but that's few and far between. It's not the typical situation. But again, here I have somebody telling me I don't have the capacity to take care of my child. I don't have the capacity to clean my child. I don't have the capacity to feed my child. I don't have the capacity to buy clothes, buy toys, take them out the house, do anything. Like, there's something wrong with me and my capacity to take care of my child. And so that's insane and unhinged. And so basically, I have just like said, I personally don't argue with people who are insane. And so since that's an insane stance, I just mind my business. And I say, okay, well, I'll let you handle it. I'll stay out of it. So this has been going on for almost 5 years now. This same kind of insane, unhinged behavior. And I personally will not stand for it. Like, as I move forward, this is not something that I can stand for as a person, because it just brings me back to this whole thing with Sita. If she had stood up to him when he was like, okay, well, I'm going into the woods and you don't have to go, she should have said, okay, that's cool. I see you in 14 years. She was a goddess her father was a king. She could just gone back to her father's house and waited there for 14 years. And when Rama came back, pick up her life from there if she's going to wait for him. Or she could have just let him be exiled, went ahead and picked up another man, and continued on with her life. This whole concept of women self-sacrificing the best of points of their life for men, and the men being extremely underappreciative of it, because what did Rama do? When he found out he had children, now mind you, he ain't sent no money for these kids. He ain't made one bottle. He ain't changed one diaper. He ain't do nothing for these kids at all. Zero. As soon as he saw them, like, now they're basically adults now, teenagers at least. As soon as he sees them, all the hard part of raising the kids is over, because this is a unique experience. But the most difficult time to take care of children is from like age 0 to about age 7. And then at age 7, they get enough capacity to operate sort of by themselves. And so you don't have to do as much work. But by 14, they can pretty much take care of themselves. They can fend for themselves almost exclusively. And most kids, by the time they turn 14, they really don't need a lot of interaction from their parents. So here comes Rama showing up about the time when they turn 14. And guess what happens? He's like, oh, well, let me just bring you into my kingdom. And they're just like, sure, because again, unhealed father issues. They don't know who their dad is. All they know is Rama, because all Sita talks about is Rama. And so when he shows up and says, I'm your dad, let me bring you to my kingdom, they just go along without asking any questions. No question about where he been the whole time, no defending their mother, no none of that. They just totally walk away from her and leave her alone just like she's been alone the whole time. That's unacceptable behavior. The only way to prevent that kind of thing moving forward is for women to say no. Like, this is not, we're not playing these type of games. Like, we're not, like, I'm the one with the portal. Like, I'm the one with the portal. I'm the one that had to go through the labor. I'm the one who had to push, almost die, get up again, push again, almost die again, and then go into surgery. That's a man didn't do that. And anytime like men go through these experiences where they have to wear like the bumps, the period simulators or the baby simulators or anything like that, they can't take the pain. It's more painful than any pain they've ever experienced. And yet these men show up and decide, oh, after the fact of all the hard work that you've done, hey, you know that work that you did, it really don't mean nothing. You don't really have the capacity to do what you said you can do. So I'm just going to step in and take over. That's unacceptable. That's totally unacceptable behavior. And we cannot like, and this is like not just me, this is other women who like a man will like they'll take advice from every other man around them, like their father, their friends, their cousins, or whoever, and they'll literally ignore the wife who is telling them, hey, maybe you should do this. Hey, maybe you should do that. Nah, I'm gonna do this instead. Nah, I don't like that. Nah, I don't think this is gonna work. They do something totally else, it gets all effed up, and then they come back to the wife and say, well, you might have been right. Like what well, you were right. I should have did it that way. But I did it this way, and so be it. It's over. We can't do that. Like moving forward, like in the kingdom, the divine feminine have to be restored. Like there's no way that part of it is telling these kind of stories, because I could tell good stories all day and all night. But it's really difficult to tell the hard stories where it's like, dang, I gave birth to 3 children, and my older children are doing pretty good. I mean, no child is perfect. No child has a perfect life. There's all kinds of mitigating factors going on. But to behave as if I don't have the capacity to raise a child when I've raised 2 already is kind of nuts. Like, it's pretty insane. Like, I pretty much raised my oldest daughter like by myself because that's what happened. So I have the total capacity to do this. Like, there's no situation where I don't. And so I have to be standing in my full power to say, when I again come into my kingdom, I'm gonna have to do things a little bit differently, because there's no way I'm gonna allow somebody in my space and in my energy who doesn't appreciate the kind of things that I go through in order to provide what I can provide, because that's my nature. Like, I can't remove that from me, just like I can't take off my skin color, just like I can't remove my womb, no matter how much a man wants to put it in them and say that it was them who did the birthing. And so we have to, again, affirm and confirm reality. The reality of the situation is men do not have the capacity to give birth. That is the reality of it. There's no scenario where a man is going to have the capacity to give birth. And therefore, that needs to be addressed as a fact. Men have other very important roles in the scenario, but giving birth to a physical child is not one of those things. And so we, again, have to confirm and affirm reality. That's a female position. And therefore, if a female can give birth to it, the female can take care of it. That's just like my ideas. I have given so many men great ideas. There's a particular group of people right now who's eating off my ideas right now, like on the internet. They have multiple, now that I think about it, at least 3 or 4 groups who have taken my ideas literally word for word, letter for letter, my literal idea that I literally just said out of my mouth that I was working on, took it. Like, not like, oh, well, we're going to do this together. No, completely took it, completely took the idea, decided they was going to implement the idea without me, without my permission, without my anything, and basically roll on as if they had the idea themselves. That's unacceptable. Today, just today, I seen that these people who call themselves Solans, right? They have this flag, right? And it's a red, white, and blue flag, but over top of the stars, they put there's a gold part on the red, black, and gold black flag, black American flag. They took that part and they put it over the stars. Well, I seen that flag for the first time about 8 months ago, 9 months ago. And I didn't like it because I was like, well, it, to me, what it symbolized was the weapon, which is the the leaves and the sword, conquering the 50 stars. That's what it looked like to me, but not the 13 stripes. And I got a problem with the 13 colonies. The 50 states is not a problem. It's the colonies that are the problem. So I was like, when I saw the flag, I was like, oh, I don't like this flag. Like, I like it, like I like the concept because it's red, white, and blue, but I don't like the flag. So today I seen that these people, these Sulans, now have an exclusive copyright partnership, licensing, whatever deal with these FBA, which is Foundational Black American losers. Both groups of these people are losers, right? They have a deal to do exclusive merchandising with their red, white, and blue flag with the sword covering the 50 stars. I got a problem with that because I put my flag out there, which I call the Motherland America flag, which has the 50 stars. It has the 13 stripes. And what I did was put a sash over the 13 stripes, showing the unity behind the stars, which are white, and the blue part, and overcoming, because the red and the white has to deal with blood being shed. That's blood being shed. You have red blood cells, you have white blood cells. So I put my part over the middle of it to show the unification, the patching up of that wound, and I put my sword and my what's the name over that to seal it all together. So I'm like, I am so glad that I have the copyright on, well, it's anyway, I have it protected. I have my image protected because these people are now going to start, what they're going to do with that is they have consolidated power. So that's why I call them losers, because if Sulan is a group and they're Islam based and the FBAs are a group and they're Christian based, they should not be coming together under a flag that is not cultural. It should be cultural based, but that's not what they're doing. They're consolidating men's power so that they can try to intimidate me with my Motherland America flag. Like, I peep all game. Like, I know how these people run their scams, especially right now. Right now, this week, where my friend works, they're also doing employee appreciation this week. Why this week? Because they're tapping into Jupiter energy. Jupiter is getting ready to go retrograde. So all of these men, all of these parasites are all trying to tap into Jupiter energy, meanwhile ignoring the feminine. Not only ignoring the feminine, removing the role of the feminine entirely, whitewashing this whole concept of the divine feminine so that they can basically, like I said, consolidate power around the patriarchy. And in the Holy Emperium, this has to be addressed head first, because if this kind of thing just continues on and nobody says anything about it, it's going to destroy everybody, because all the people who are coalescing around these men, because if people don't know, it was women who designed the flag. It was Bessie Ross who designed the 13 stripe flag. That was a female thing. So by them creating their own flag, totally removing the female influence and consolidating power, like I said, around the males, they're totally wiping out the females. And it just, again, feels like the Sita thing all over. And if women decide to just check out, because I made a video earlier and I said this, I'm going to remove my energy from the spirit realm if they don't confirm my reality of how I'm supposed to live. If women decide to do that and check out, this country is toast. And that is how close we are to this, because no woman is going to allow themselves to be exploited and manipulated like this again for another 4, 5, 6, 8,000 years. Enough is enough.
Period.
Period. Jesus, man. I don't understand what's wrong with these men. I don't get it.
Well, when they've been in quote unquote power, whatever that even means, when they've been in power for so long, like any hint, any smell of a what they would perceive as an erosion of their power and an expansion and a magnification of the power of, I guess, what they would consider like the opponent, which is the yin and the yang, because a lot of these men see the feminine as like the feminine energy in opposition. They don't,
Right.
it's like the whole view of, well, if you're a man, like this is the stereotype that you live by. And doing anything that is related to the feminine is weak, is
Right.
bad, is a failure, and vice versa. Women have been co-opted and programmed to believe that like anything related to the masculine is somehow bad. Like a
Right.
lot of these women are out here earning a living for themselves. They got their own house, they got this, they got that, and they still feel shitty in terms of that. Like a lot of women out here are really like disappointed in their financial success
Right.
because of the fact that they don't have a man and they don't feel worthy because they don't have a man. So a lot of women have been convinced that their value is in being connected to a man. And
Right.
vice versa too, because it's men as well. Like that's why men are so desperate to have women, because they believe that their success is predicated on having a beautiful, attractive woman, or at this point nowadays, just any type of woman, because most
Right.
of these men just cannot uh, have any, and just the women are checking out of the dating scene, and because they're checking out of the dating scene, it's becoming much more difficult for men to have a woman by their side. Um,
Right.
so I think in terms of like where we are headed now, and kind of what you were mentioning, um, how do you see, like, in this new reality, how do you see things working when, like, what does it mean for a woman to be empowered? What does it mean for, like,
Mm.
if the masculine just basically got annihilated in terms of the patriarchy stopped, just lost all its power, because that's really what's happening currently. Like
Right.
they're at this point they're just throwing a tantrum
Right.
because the tide, the trend is shifting completely against this whole, if you're a man, this is what you do. If you're a woman, this is what you do. We're moving completely away from that. Men are being forced to embrace the feminine. Women are being forced to embrace the masculine. And really, for a woman to be empowered in the way that you're speaking, she has to lean into her masculine. Like she has to fully embrace that aspect of herself in order to have an empowered feminine. So, uh, fast forward, what does it look like for the woman to be empowered in this state? Because if we understand what that looks like, then we could basically just like bring it to fruition. You know,
Right.
just basically like attract that reality now. And once we are clear with that, the women are going to follow, because I mean, and you're seeing it now, like the women are following. They might still be obviously lost and trying to figure themselves out, but like it reality, because it's bending so quickly and so potently to our will, is forcing whatever we basically become very clear about to happen.
Right, because we're broadcasting. Again, we talked about that last time. Now we're in a state of broadcast. And so, yes, that's why we have to decide what that looks like. So I've been discussing this with my friend for many months because this stuff has been going on for an extremely long time. And the conclusion that I come to is it just looks like women saying no. Like women refusing to take on the problems that men bring to them. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm upset at this and I'm upset at that. That's one thing. But it's a totally different thing to be like, okay, well, my life is falling apart and I need you to fix it. Please come and fix my life. That, you tried to warn me that this would happen, and I didn't listen. But basically now I will listen to you. And then they listen for 5 seconds, just long enough to put their lives back together, and then they walk away. Because any reasonable person, everyone understands that you need to get you have to have both sides, right? So as women, we have to have men to bounce things off of, to protect us. You know what I mean? Like to physically and spiritually put like protection around us. That's what we need. That's what we're asking for. The men are totally incapable of doing that. Physical and also spiritual, especially spiritual if no other way. Completely incapable of doing that, because in order to protect someone, you have to be vulnerable to them, which means that you have to do things you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable with. Now, the women have been doing this because, behind the scenes, the women have been trying to figure out, okay, what did we do wrong? Why do these things keep happening? Why is it when I say something, these men don't listen? They don't pay attention. They don't care. You know what I mean? We have been asking these questions. I mean, I for sure have been asking these questions. And a long time ago, we'll see, like 2016, 2017, I was like, okay, well, if I've had problems previously in relationships, let me take a different approach. Let me try to, minimize some of those things that I know are outright inflammatory, and figure out if it's a me issue or a them issue, because that's really what has to be done in the background. You have to figure out, again, who you are. Now, mind you, if I had astrology, it'd have been much easier. But I was doing this completely without any astrology, without any help, without any guidance, without anything. And I still came to the conclusion of who I was, and then the astrology confirmed it. And so knowing yourself is a huge step in this. And if you know yourself, you have to really walk in that energy. So if my energy is, okay, I'm the type of person who, I need to live in a big house. Okay. That's literally in my chart. I have to live in a big house. If you live in a big house, I'm not going to be cleaning like a maniac all day and all night. That's crazy. I'm just going to hire a housekeeper and have them come in every couple days, do the deep cleaning, and I could do the surface level cleaning, and it's not going to be an issue. I have that in my mind that that's how I want to live. And so anything that's going to get in the way of that, because I know what type of life I'm supposed to live, I have to that has to be removed, because I'm not going to have anyone get in the way of the life that I'm supposed to live based on my chart. And so for the women, that's like really standing in their power, really saying, yes, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. And really meaning it and really making the decision. Like a lot of women have a hard time making the decision. I don't have a hard time making the decision. When I make my mind up, that's it. You can't even change it. There's nothing but the intervention by the creator is going to change my mind once I make it up. But I take a long time to make my mind up, because I know that I'm like that. So instead of making quick decisions that I might have to change my mind, I try to wait out a whole cycle. Now it's been a whole cycle, because 9 years is basically a whole cycle, right? It's been a whole cycle. I've seen no improvement. So I have to be realistic about what kind of life I want to lead in my next cycle, because it's not the life that I've been leading for the last 9 years. Like now, as I've mentioned in the first few talks, I talked this man up. I said all the positive things. That's another thing women have to do. You have to identify the positive. You can't be so overwhelmed by the negative that you can't identify the positive. I spent 4, 5, 6 talks talking about positive things, right? That's the only correct thing to do. Like, I have to lead with the positive, but I can't ignore the negative. And you have to know when the positive outweigh the negative. So part of this for me was when I started saying, okay, I've got to do something different. What's going on? Then you show up. Then, like, your followers show up. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute now. There are men out here who could listen to what I'm saying, internalize it as a thing that could be helpful for them, and use it. So if that is possible, then that means that it's not, what I'm asking for is not out of the realm of possibility. Because that's another thing that they do. Like, energetically, the deceiver will make you think that what you're asking for is too much. Like, no, it's too much. Nobody gets stuff like that. Look at everybody around you. They're all miserable, blah, 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 right? But when you're just looking for people to take you seriously, right? That's all. Women just want to be taken seriously. What it looks like, you ask what it looks like. What it looks like is women being taken seriously. Because throughout time, when women have intuitions about things, what would happen if the men, when the patriarchy was ruling, if a woman had an intuition about something, they would blame the woman for having the intuition. Then when the thing happened that was bad, they would still blame the woman. It was always the woman's fault. So what we really need is for women to understand that their intuition is right. It's not that the intuition is wrong. So I'll refer back to the story in the Bible, when King Saul went to the witch Endor to summon Samuel the prophet. Samuel the prophet had died. Before he died, he cursed Saul because of all the crazy stuff Saul was doing. But in Saul's defense, Saul was possessed by the spirit of Odin because Saul was half black, I guess, and or half Israelite and half something else. And I've mentioned on the show that the something else that he was half was Mayan, because he, in the Mayan pantheon, Saul is Pakal Votum, which was the king of the last king of Palenque, or however you say it. Don't give me the line about the name of the place, but he was like the last real king that they had. And so but that's in Saul's defense, he was possessed by these entities. And so he goes to the witch of Endor. He have the witch of Endor summon Samuel. Now, mind you, when the Christians tell this story, they're like, oh, it's necromancy. But it's like, wait a minute. Why was a witch able to summon a prophet? The math is not mathing, because if he was a holy man, only another holy person would be able to call him, not a witch. It don't work like that. That's not how the spirit realm works. And so then you understand it wasn't a witch that he went to, it was an oracle, it was a sibyl who he was asking how to deal with this curse that Samuel had put on him, that he was going to die and his kids were going to die and it's going to be horrible, right? And so when she calls on Samuel, Samuel comes, he appears. Now that's another insane thing. There's no other time in the Bible when an individual was called up from the dead, not as a living person, not resurrected like Lazarus, but called from the dead and they appeared. This is the only story where this happens in the whole Bible. So Samuel appears and he says to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me?" Wait a minute. This story is not like something is going on here, because why isn't he mad at the witch? If anything, she was the one who summoned him. So no, he wasn't mad at her. He was mad at Saul. And so he says, "Nope, the curse I put on you stand, you're going to have to live with it. Now, in my research, my own personal research, I've discovered that if you have these curses put on you, you can reject them. There's things you can do. So in the Bible, the story ends with Saul dying a horrible death. But I don't think that's what happened. I think that he went back to his mother's land. Because another thing about this story is they never tell you who Saul's mother is. What the Old Testament does, even though the Old Testament is supposed to be the feminine version of events, they remove all the relevant information about the mothers and the grandmothers. The only story of mothers and grandmothers they leave in there is Ruth, because they have to, and Esther. In the Orthodox Bible, you also get a story of Judith, for whatever reason, and you get the story of Susanna, but those are only in the Orthodox Bible. In your regular King James, they take it all out. They don't tell you who Saul's mother is. They don't tell you what she was practicing. They don't tell you what ritual she was performing when they were stolen by the Benjaminites, because of the whole thing we talked about before with the Levite lying on the whole thing that he had going on with the ritual he was doing. So they never tell you who Saul's mother is. And so when you consider that his mother could have been a queen, a princess in her own right, and maybe she decided, man, I'm not effing with these Israelites anymore. I'm going to go back to my land with my people. Why wouldn't she have taken her son and said, okay, these people think you're going to die. Let them think you died, or fake your death, right? Fake your death, and let's go back to where we came from, where I came from, where my homeland is. Because how do you get Saul buried in Mexico in Votum's tomb, which we know is his tomb because the Votum was tall, and Saul is like the only person like that is described as being a foot taller, literally, than everyone else. So you have these two stories converge for a reason. There's no way that you can get around that. And so what we need is for the men to take the women seriously. Because if Saul took the witch of Endor seriously enough that he had her summon Samuel. And as a result of this, whatever, finding out the curse could not be done away with, he obviously had to make a different choice if he wanted to spare his own life. There's no way he just like sat around and let a curse happen to him. That doesn't even, nobody would do that. People would do something. And if there's nothing that she could do as the oracle or whatever, then something else had to be done. Like he had to have gone back to his mother's people. That's the only thing that would make sense. You wouldn't just sit around and wait to die in battle. Why would you do that? It doesn't add up. And so that's what we need. We need men to literally take women seriously. If I say to someone, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, like I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that. All we need, this whole thing, like this whole issue could be solved if men would hear women when they say stuff like that and say, okay, I'm gonna try it. That's it. I'm going to try it. If they do try it, great. Even if they don't try it, to confirm the reality that the woman is not making up what she's hearing, making up what she's seeing, because that's what they've done to women. Look at the Salem witch trials. Like they said, oh, the women, they got all crazy and all of this stuff. Meanwhile, the Salem witch trial story could have gone is one of two ways, and I could interpret it either way. It was a black woman who accused all of these women of being witches. So either the white women were running a child trafficking ring, and that's why she accused them because she's seen it, or the black woman was paid off by the white men to accuse these women of running a child trafficking ring so that they could take their land. And either one could be true. I don't trust black people as far as I can throw them either. So either one of those scenarios could be true. And I've heard it both ways. Like literally, because the lady, she ended up basically, she was in jail for a year, And then she just disappeared. Nobody knew where she went. But it's like she was in jail for a year after accusing these women of doing witchcraft. And then she just literally just disappears and nobody, they just break her out of jail and no one looks for her. Okay, that sounds about as real as somebody breaking into the Louvre and stealing Napoleon's crown jewels in 4 minutes. Sounds about the same amount of real to me. So the math ain't mathing on the story.
Yeah, it's and I think, I think one of the reasons, so as you were saying, like, men have to take women seriously, and the reason that they haven't taken women seriously is because women have not taken themselves seriously. And now, obviously, there are a group of women that have taken themselves seriously, and you're seeing the shift.
Right.
So specifically, someone like yourself as an example, like, you've been taking yourself very seriously. It just happens to be that in the system that we were in, because the system is rapidly transforming and changing, that was not incentivized. Obviously, the
Right.
system is going to be like, "Oh, you're taking yourself seriously? Like, okay, we're going to make your life rough. We're going to make your life difficult. We
Right.
want you to give up. We want you
Exactly.
to not do it." Because to be a rebel in this way, especially a powerful rebel, is can be very destabilizing to the system. So obviously, the system's
Right.
not going to incentivize the people that are specifically the women, but also the men, because no one's taking themselves seriously. That's the,
Right.
men are not taking women seriously because the men don't take themselves seriously, and
Right.
men are not taking women seriously because women don't take themselves seriously. So it's a two-prong issue that happens where either side has not taken themselves seriously, and as a result,
Right.
women are not taking men seriously. Sure, yeah, women are maybe following men and doing whatever they say, but like, that's not taking them seriously. A
No.
lot of women, just their focus is, as long as the man can provide materially, like, I'm okay. What's the seriousness in that? What type of seriousness is that? Not only in terms of, yeah, sure, maybe physically one can benefit from a man that's able to physically provide, but what about spiritually? What about to
Right.
the kids? What about to the offspring? What about to one's own individual spiritual energetic ascension? That's not taking oneself seriously if the big focus is, well, does he have cash or not? Does he have this
Right.
or that? Does he have blah,
Exactly.
blah, blah? So, really, what has taken place is that humans have not been taking themselves seriously. And now things are getting serious. And they're getting so
Right.
serious that people are going crazy. As you said,
Yeah.
the men are going, recently the men have been just going berserk, but it's because their their programming is to a system that has collapsed. So they're
Right.
still trying to make their programming fit the new reality, and it's not fitting. It's not giving them the results. And then women are trying to serve these failed men, and like, it's not working. It's making it worse for them. They're actually not being provided for. And even if they are being provided for in terms of materially, the materials are shit. They're not
Right.
fulfilling. They're not providing. Like, there's always bills. There's always this. Like,
Right.
even these people that have all this money and that, like, the money is losing its value, and because the
Right.
money is losing its value, everything's becoming more and more and more expensive, and not
Right.
just financially expensive. Every, like, more problems are cropping up, more
Right.
more more things to spend money on, or this or that. Like, maybe they got a promotion at work, but now the work is even more stressful. So it's like, was it even worth the promotion?
Right.
Was it even worth the increase in money that they're receiving? So, and I think, so I think the focus for us is really uh sending out the command to reality, and then specifically with women, is now's the time to get serious. Now's the time to get
Right.
real. Now's the time to pull up your sleeves and And the thing is, women have been positioning themselves well, actually. At least physically, they've been positioning themselves well. You know, I
Right.
think
I
women,
agree.
in terms of education, in terms of their finances, a lot of them are homeowners. A lot of single women are homeowners, like, and young single women. You know, these are women in their
Right.
30s, 40s, like
Right.
they're doing great, but it's like now, oh, okay, so the seriousness with women is you got to get serious. Women have to get serious about their self-love. That's really the thing.
Yes.
That's the thing. Because
Mm.
in getting serious about their self-love, making that a priority, and not the whole bullshit, oh, I'm gonna go to the spa and I'm gonna, like, yeah, sure, that's nice, but you gotta go in deep, and every move you make is out of that self-love, which is that unconditional love. So to in order for women to begin to take themselves seriously, it demands embracing unconditional love. And as they do that, and we're seeing that, actually, like, we're seeing a lot of women, especially I've been seeing it just online the last few weeks. Women seem to be the ones talking a lot about love, and specifically
Right.
unconditional love, although they might not say unconditional love, but like love has become a big focus. Now,
Right.
all women are making love a focus, and you're seeing the women that are actually maybe better guided are moving towards the unconditional love, sovereign type of love, and the women that are not guided, that are misguided, they're going into, oh, I just engaged with my man that I met just a few months ago, and this and that. Now, hey, that's possible, right? It's
Right.
not like you gotta know your man for years and everything is okay. But a lot of women are just like, I found my man, and it's like, girl, you haven't even found yourself.
Right.
If you haven't even found yourself and you just found a man 4 months ago, and now you're giving advice about a dating life
Yeah,
and
that's
living with a
a
man
that's
and
a
this and
huge
that.
red flag. Like I noticed that a lot of, like you said, these younger women are like, yeah, like I'm with this guy, and if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't do that, like that's you already positioning yourself
Yeah.
wrong. Like that's the
For
wrong position to take.
failure.
Yeah. So complete failure.
Like, they're like, my man has, I need to have his password, and
Oh my
we
gosh.
share our phones, and
That's
there
insane.
is all transparency all the way. Like, that's coping.
It
That's
is.
coping. That's an immense amount. You have no trust in the other person, which actually means you have no trust in yourself. And what is
Right.
having no trust in oneself? Well, we don't love ourselves to the point that we should be
Right.
at. Because if you truly love yourself at the point that is optimal, which really turns us into the divine being that we are, who gives a shit? Who
Right.
literally,
Exactly.
who gives a fuck if someone's talking X, Y, and Z? It doesn't matter, because we are in a state of bliss due to the self-love. And so
Right.
in us getting serious about this, women can stop getting on these fucking dating apps just for some validation. They can stop, posting pictures to get validation. Look, posting pictures of yourself is fantastic. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. But if your intention is, oh, well, I'm going to get the reply guys to, comment on my stuff or get engagement or get this, like, if one is getting a fix based on the validation, that's because we're empty inside. There's something empty within us that we're not posting a picture because we just love it. We're posting the picture because there's something that there's an expectation to why we're posting that. So
Right.
I think as we really direct energy towards calling on women, commanding the feminine, the divine feminine, the sacred divine feminine, as I like to call, to get serious, to get serious. And the Joker always says, why so serious? To get serious. And in getting serious, that means loving, making self-love their priority, specifically unconditional love. We're going to
Right.
see that. We're going to see that. And we're already seeing it, but we're going to see an intensification of that. Now, we don't need to explain, especially like in these spaces. Sure, we can go deeper, but we don't have to explain to anybody why or how or when or this or that. No, because we're so powerful now that all we got to do is, as you said, with the broadcasting. We're, as a broadcaster, we broadcast with clarity, concise, and um with gravitas,
Right.
so that
Right.
people listen. That's it. if they actually listen or not, it doesn't matter. It's gonna happen.
Exactly. That's why I was like, it just have to be discussed. That's why, what did I say? This was no preview, no pre-discussing, no anything. No, we just have to decide that this has to be addressed. It just can't go on the way that it's been going on anymore. So what does that look like? How do we get real? How do we broadcast that in a way that people can accept it, that the women will get on board? Like, it just has to be broadcast because these people are impressionable. They're not, these are not individuals who are, a lot of people are not, they're not self-aware. Okay, I think that's the best way to put it. They're not self-aware. They don't know what's going on. They just ride along the wave. My friend, she had asked me earlier, she was like, do you ever go places and, as soon as you show up somewhere, all of these people show up and you don't know where they came from? She said, sometimes I go outside and I'm by myself, and the next thing I know, everybody on the whole block is outside. I said, yeah, you're the main character. You're the one, you are like in The Sims. Like, she, is a little bit familiar with that, but like, you are the one who's the real person. And so when you show up, other people show up to make you feel like you're not alone. That's the whole point. Because a part of this whole process, especially with like being in hermit mode and all this stuff, was the deceiver trying to convince us that we're alone. So if we show up somewhere and all of a sudden other people show up, you have to know that you're not alone. Like, there's no way you can think, oh, I'm here by myself and no one loves me or anything like that. If every time you turn around to go somewhere, places start filling up. Because you walked in, just because you showed up. We started noticing this like in 2023, at least I did. Like, everywhere I went, there would be nobody, and then all of a sudden, here come all of these people, and it's like, where did these people come from? It's like, oh, they came in here because you were in here. You triggered the they used to call it like, they used to say, um at least now some people, they used to say that it was because like they're trying to get like your energy, and so these people would show up where you showed up so that they could tap into your energy. But again, after just reassessing a lot of this stuff, I think it's because, like I said, the creator wants you to know that you're not here by yourself. So if you go somewhere and you run into somebody, and let's say like in The Sims or Grand Theft, right, like that person has some information, and so you talk to them and you get that little piece of information from them, and you're able to use that for something. That's how it's supposed to be. Like, and sometimes, especially with these people who are basically not conscious, they just pick up the broadcast. Now that we have this term, I can see how that's being used. They pick up the broadcast. Hey, you're putting out a signal that says, okay, I'm going to McDonald's, right? You get to McDonald's and you're like this just happened to me earlier. I went to McDonald's and I was like, ugh, I'm not really hungry. I don't want anything to eat, but I have to sit here and wait for an hour. I probably need to eat something because I know if I wait to get back in the house, I'm not going to eat. And it's better to have something on my stomach than nothing. And so I'm going back and forth with this whole process. So I decide, okay, I'm just going to order something. I order my food. I get into the line. And then as soon as I get in the line, it was nobody in the parking lot. It was nobody in the drive-through line. It was nobody. But as soon as I get in the line is like now around the whole McDonald's. All these people are here, and it's like, where did these people come from? I was just here by myself. And it's like, oh, okay, that's the creator reminding me that I'm not here by myself. Like, there are other people here that are experiencing life the same way that I'm experiencing it. And so it's fine. It's okay if that happens. It's just that you have to adjust to that process. And so part of this is also like us rewriting our understanding of what the matrix is, because in the Zolkin cycle, right, there's a matrix cycle. The matrix cycle is colored with green, and um what it means is it, or what it because it's green, right? You just basically assume that it's tied into the earth cycle. And so when you're thinking about the earth as the matrix as opposed to um like the matrix being like the firmament or something that's holding you in, you have a completely different like understanding of what's going on. It's no longer out there somewhere, but it's literally the system that is holding you up. And so we have the capacity to broadcast into the matrix, which is the earth, instead of thinking we're broadcasting into the matrix, which is the something else. Then we have a totally, it just change it can shift your perspective of how things are working, and so you can have more control over your outcomes, because as it stands right now, people are not having good outcomes, right? So one of the things I said in my video was that I need to be treated like a queen. Like I should be living like a queen. Like that's the reality that I'm supposed to be in. And so every day that I'm not in that reality is actually creating um unnecessary additional stress for me. And I don't like it, and it's not it's again, it's my reality. And whether it's the reality that the false matrix, which is this firmament that's out there, if it's the false reality, that's one thing. But if it's the real reality, the one that is comes from the bottom, comes from underneath us, it ties us into, oh my gosh, it ties us into this whatever reality that we're in, then again, it's just a totally different experience, and it's a totally different level of understanding. And the more people we can just get to think like that, as opposed to thinking, oh, when I go in some place, all these people show up that weren't there, and that's some kind of a curse. And instead it's really like a blessing. We just have a totally different, again, set of circumstances that we can operate under. And I think that's one of the prevailing things moving forward that we should probably do.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, making sure that um I mean, I think it's a lot of people nowadays, everyone calls themselves king,
Right.
everybody calls themselves queen, and that's great. This is all awesome. But it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And for me, like I've been calling myself emperor, I would say probably maybe the last maybe a little over 3 years, maybe 4 years. And it's funny because it coincided with me embracing unconditional love
Mm.
in terms of like it was like, okay, you're calling yourself this, but like, now you got to go through the initiation.
Right.
Now obviously the whole our whole life is the initiation, but it's like it's one thing to I think people just don't know what royalty really is and how it
No.
moves. And because of that, like it's it's thinking that the physical is going to um it's how we move. That's really what it is,
Right.
because a king, a queen can have nothing or can have everything and still be that. And it's funny because what's his name, the what was it, the Duke of York, who's that English guy that
Yeah.
just got his stuff stripped?
Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew, yeah. It's there's something symbolic about him having his titles like stripped of him, where it's calls to question, well, is he really still royalty? Is he not royalty? Like, what's going on there? And it really begins to show that it doesn't matter if anyone, and Robert Greene talks about this, where he has a great quote about, um, so he says, do not wait for a coronation. The greatest emperors crown themselves.
Well, why do you think
And
they took Napoleon's jewels?
right, right.
These things aren't happening in a vacuum. So they stripped Prince Andrew of his royal title, and then again the jewels get stolen. These things are more than likely connected. Like just because one event happens and it seems connected to one thing doesn't make it any less connected to other things. Like, this stuff is all like, again, this is the concept of a matrix. It's like the butterfly effect, like a domino effect. One domino starts falling down, another one, another one, another one, until their whole house has collapsed. Their whole false matrix is basically done away with.
So it's interesting because Empress Eugene, which was the crown that was dropped essentially, they never had a coronation ceremony
Wow.
because this was Emperor the Third, which I'm assuming was maybe the grandson of Napoleon. I think maybe.
I don't know enough
Um,
about, that's not my wheelhouse. That's my friend's wheelhouse. She knows about all of that Napoleon stuff. I never got too deep into it except to say
so
that,
I think that was the cousin
oh, the
actually. No,
cousin.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So it was Napoleon. Okay, wait, let me double check here. Napoleon. So it was Napoleon the First, which was the emperor, the one who crowned himself. Then his brother became monarch,
Okay.
and that was Louis Bonaparte. And then uh, Louis Bonaparte's son, Napoleon the Third, became the emperor of France,
Oh, wow.
essentially, and he kind of rose to power. So it's interesting that like this was basically the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte. That was so it's almost like and I need to look more into this guy's history because throwing the crown, this Empress Eugene's crown onto the floor was basically like it's illegitimate. It's not like a legitimate ruling in terms of
Yeah, said it was an empress. Again, discarding, like taking Napoleon's crown as if it's more important than the feminine. I mean, that's a literal representation. That's what Rama did to Sita. He literally said, well, I think that you were sleeping with the 12-faced demon. Although, how are you going to sleep with a dude with 12 faces anyway? But she's sleeping with the 12-faced demon, and that's where the kid come from. And basically, I'm going to throw you away because you're damaged goods. Like, what? Like, that's literally like a literal representation of what happened in the story. Rama just threw her away as if she was unimportant.
yeah, right, right. Um, so in the past, so okay, yeah. So going back to the Robert Greene, the "Do not wait for a coronation. The greatest emperors crown themselves." Is we have to learn how to crown ourselves. And
Right.
best believe ain't nobody gonna be like, "Oh, you're the best. I'm gonna crown you, and this is what it means. And let me show you the initiation. Let me show you how to be an emperor. Let me show you how to be a king. Let me show you how to be a queen. Let me show you how to be a royal." No, we gotta figure that out ourselves. And
But I don't think
that
that's true. I don't agree with that. I think you do have to have someone crown you. It's just not who you think. It's just not going to be the elites. The elites are not going to crown you.
yes, true, yes. But I think is yes, definitely. That
You know
that
what I
makes it
mean?
official. Yes, that makes it official. But like to get crowned, you as the individual have to crown yourself in terms of like stepping into that role
Right.
and not this is not like what's to say like Cinderella where Cinderella is here just like cleaning after her stepsisters and then just magically the knight in shining armor comes and rescues her
Okay.
because of the what is it the footwear that she left behind. And I think a lot of people out here are saying that they're powerful. They're saying that they're this. They're saying that they're that, and they're just waiting for their knight in shining armor, whether it be a woman or a man, to come and like rescue them, not realizing like we got to be putting in the work to then get to a point where, as you said, someone crowns you.
I don't know. I feel two ways on this. One part of me is like, that's true. Like, quote unquote, no one is coming to rescue you. But at the same time, you were birthed from a womb. How can the creator who thought you important enough to have you be birthed through a womb leave you. That doesn't make any, like, these are two, this is a really huge philosophical problem on our planet right now. And it literally, like, is the summation of the patriarchy, because a man cannot birth a child, right? And so the man will say, the masculine energy will say, no one is coming to save you. Like, right? Because a man didn't birth you, and if you die, a man can't birth another one of you to replace you. But if you have the divine feminine, the righteous feminine restored, you can say, of course someone is coming to save me. My mother who birthed me in her womb is not going to leave me here to suffer, because that's what Sita did. She called out to the earth, her mother, to save her. She said, I can't live like this anymore. Come and save me. And the earth opened up and swallowed her in. So it can't, I think the old system runs off this, no one is coming to save you. But the new system is, of course someone's coming to save you. This is like I was talking about last week with the whole baby thing. If you have a baby, a lot of uh, young people right now believe, oh, well, if the baby cries, let them cry and self-soothe. That's really unhealthy. That's really masculine and really patriarchy like. The feminine thing is, hey, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna let
right.
a baby cry. Like, we're babies here. Like, that's another thing. I didn't make myself. Like, I'm not self-made. Like, I came here because somebody somewhere called me into existence. And not talking about my parents, but some energy, some entity called me into existence. That's what I call the creator. The creator created me. And therefore, if I'm a baby on this planet, as a person who just turned 40 on a planet that's billions of years old, I'm a baby. So I'm just crying out, Father, whoever is listening, I need some help here. Like, I can't do this. So there's a like, it's I don't know, like, how to, because it's true on one hand that no one's coming to save you, but it's not true. It's like, yeah, no physical person is coming to save you, right? But on the spiritual realm of, someone has to come and save you, because you don't know. Like, we're literally babies here. Like, because if a day to the creator is 1,000 years, we have not even lived 0.2% of a day with the creator. How can we even know how this man operates? Like, we can't, that's something that we just don't have the capacity in a physical body to understand. I had theorized a few months ago that maybe Adam lived 48,000 years or 480,000 years, because he lived almost 1,000 years, which is almost a quote unquote day with the creator. But maybe it was more. Maybe they just made it sound as realistic as possible by saying 999, where they really meant like 48,000. Because I think we had talked a few months ago about this 480,000 years of history that's, like, basically just missing. So we don't really know how this place works, is what I'm saying. And so if we don't know how it works, how can we crown ourselves? How can we save ourselves? Like, we can't. And I think it's again kind of like over masculinizing the human experience to say that we somehow can do it. But we can say, hey, it's no human that can do it. Like, no human called me to be an oracle or Sybil or whatever. I can tell you that for a fact. It was no human that called me to do this. It was definitely a call that came from the spirit realm that I answered. So I can't attribute any of my success to a literal human. However, I can say that without the support of various humans, I could never be where I am today. So we have to balance out the literal side of this and the spiritual side of this.
Yeah, and I think in terms of, who's saving, is we are already saved.
Right,
Like,
that's
we
true.
are living in a reality where we are already saved, and the work that we are doing individually in these lives in the current timeline that we're in is we're embracing that reality, in
Mm.
terms of the fact that, like, well, if I'm already saved, what am I doing that makes me think that I'm not saved? And
Mm.
and and I think that is the crux is the self-love.
Right.
And I think that at the end of the day, like, that's how we crown ourselves. I mean, the whole me calling myself the emperor, like, it didn't really make sense. I didn't really see it until I truly began to lean into the unconditional love. And that was challenging. That was a lot because it made me have to go inwards and both figure out the things that, and I'm still obviously in that process because it's a continuation. It's a beautiful, it doesn't, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Right. Right.
And but the big thing, the reason I, I didn't embrace unconditional love to get a crown or to feel like I should call myself emperor. No, it was because I became aware that my connection to the feminine was disrupted. And in order for me
Mm.
to be high vibrational, that had to be sorted out. How can I be out here calling myself high vibrational and understanding energy when 50% of my energy, the feminine side, was unknown. It was like there was insane amounts of blockages, which if there's blockages on the feminine side, obviously the masculine side clearly is not working at the rate that it should be, because for the masculine to work in an optimal way, the feminine has to be working in an optimal way. And that's why in
Right.
this reality, it's so misaligned and in many ways disrupted, because it's it's given the masculine an imbalanced amount of energetic power, and the feminine hasn't been able to balance that out. And it's not just
Right.
that this is for the women to figure out. No, this is for the men to figure out as well, because sure, yeah, so what's going to happen is, as as we become clear with this, which I think we've already reached a clarity when it comes to empowering, supporting the feminine, supporting women, and basically like commanding them to get serious, commanding them to prioritize their self-love, is as they start to do that work, the men are going to be pressured to have to keep up. They're going to be they're going to have to crack. They're going to have to crack
Right.
somehow, because it and this is why men are so fixated on money, because
Yeah.
they believe that, well, if I just have enough money, if I just have enough of this physical thing, I'm going to find a girl. And
Right.
when if women take themselves seriously, they're going to say, no, your energetic state has to be elevated. Like,
Right.
you got to be doing the work to nourish your feminine and your masculine. So, and this I think is partly like the thing that we are all going to be kind of obviously doing ourselves, but like enacting reality to do, is like so this goes back to the part that we are already saved, where what I've realized, in the past, let's say something bad, quote unquote, that I would have seen as bad happening, I would have been out here using my platform trying to explain and convince the people why we have to do the other way. So if there was
Right.
an attack on pasteurized milk, I would have to be out here explaining, hey, no, we got to support the raw milk bill. We got to do this. We got to go
Right.
protest. We got to do, blah, blah, blah. Let's do, signatures and this and that petition. Now it's completely different, where I don't care to explain. I don't care to get involved in the mud, because my word, like what I put out there, happens. How it
Right.
happens, I don't care. That's the divine. That's God's will. That's for God. That God knows and does in ways that I could not even comprehend or
Right.
imagine what he
Right.
does. But he uses us as his like lightning rod. He uses us as his like thunderbolt to go and like zap into the reality his commands.
I
Um,
say the creator uses humans, the ones who are aligned, as his hands and feet. He hasn't physically
mm,
incarnated, so he needs us to go out there and do the physical work. And I think that's why, again, I'm always so like harping on this whole thing of confirming reality, because if I am a physical reflection of the creator, just literally, like you said, I don't have to get saved because I'm already saved. So if I'm already a physical reflection of the creator, why would the creator choose to go through this kind of trouble? Like when, or rather, let me put it this way: if the
Mm.
creator did choose to go through this type of trouble, when he was done, he would say, "I'm done with this. It's
Right.
time to
Yeah.
move on to the next thing."
Uh-huh.
No, I'm not going to wait 18 days. No, I'm not going to wait 2 months. No, I'm not going to wait another year. Like, I think that's where the whole timeline thing comes in, because there's an illusion that there's a time holding. Now, things do take
Mm.
time.
Yes.
Like, there is a cycle, like you have to cycle through, but that does not mean that, you know, the creator can't intervene in his infinite creative capacity to remove us from a situation we don't want to be in and put us in a situation we do want to be in. Like,
Right. Right.
it's the deceiver who tells us, no, you have to wait until the sun enters Libra,
Mm.
or the moon is in a full moon, or whatever. That's a deception. This is why I don't really like even get into astrology as much as I used to, because it's a program. And when you know it's a program, that means someone's broadcasting it. And that means they're broadcasting it from a source. And obviously, their source isn't the creator, because the creator would never say, "Oh, you have to wait until dot, dot, dot to do something," because that's not what mothers do. What mothers do, if the baby is crying, again, you go and pick the baby up and you start inspecting the baby to figure out why the baby is crying. You don't say, "You know what, in another 15 minutes, if the baby is still crying, I'm going to go and pick up the baby." That's crazy. No, again, no respectable mother would be like that. But fathers would be. I mean, not, again, not, no offense to dads, but they would say, "Oh, nothing's wrong with that baby. Give him a few more minutes, maybe he'll calm down." Well, a few minutes goes by, then a dad might be like, "Okay, let me go check the baby. Something might be going on." Like, but you didn't realize it 5 minutes ago when the baby was crying. Like, I'm gonna need you to, like, get it together. That's not how it works. And so I guess this is also, like I said, just the difference between how the masculine side of the creator works and the feminine side of the creator works. The feminine side of the creator would never leave us out here, suffering just to teach us a lesson. And that's what a lot of Protestants believe. They're like, "I have to suffer in order to get this blessing. There's no blessing without suffering." And it's like, no, I reject that. Like, that's your reality. Let me put it this way. That can be your reality if you choose that, but that's definitely not my reality, because I would never allow my children to suffer just to teach them a lesson. There's lots of ways to teach lessons that don't require suffering.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Um, yeah, it's and I think we're getting to a point now where like I mean there's so much that I went through and suffered that in providing people with the guidance, like they don't have to suffer. They don't have to go through
Right,
what I went through. They don't have to like be lost in the way that I was lost. And so I think in us developing ourselves to be able to be, and I mean I think our role in all of this is to forge the path. Once the path
right,
is forged, then everyone else can follow. Like as the
right,
shepherds, we're the ones that the flock is following us, whether we see it or not, they are following us. And so
right,
it is up to us as the individuals that have been chosen by God to be the shepherds to um like understand that we are indeed already saved and really
right,
step into that role. And as we have seen in our own individual lives, like we have had to suffer because the way that the system was set up was to convince you that you haven't been saved, to convince you
right,
that you weren't good enough, to convince you that X, Y, and Z. And through all of that, like the 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 end result, at least my conclusion, was self-love. That was it.
right.
It wasn't like, oh, you got to do, as you were saying, you got to do all these different intricate magic stuff and you got to know the positioning of this, positioning of that. No, as long as you do the work of loving yourself and discover whatever the fuck that even means, right? Because it was one thing to say love yourself, another thing to actually discover what that actually means. But as long as you make self love the priority, the reality completely transforms, like just night and day type of transformation. Now, the physical usually takes time to manifest, to kind of show up, because the next thing is, it's not just about loving oneself. It is rebuilding one's vessel to manage that energy. It's a
Right.
lot of energy, and it's almost like the system on purpose neutered us energetically to not be able to handle this intense amount of energy, because to love ourselves in the unconditional loving way that God, I think, really designed us to be, that's a lot, like, that's a lot of power. I mean, that's why we have the power that we have, because we have been able to do the Lord's work and get to a point where we are in a state of awareness to understand that, I mean, what the Bible says, what Jesus says, it's love. It's love,
Right.
but it's like, there's people that will say it's love, but they're not in that frequency. They're not, they don't have an understanding of what that truly honestly means. We have that understanding, or at least we're getting to that understanding, because we have done the work, because we
Right.
actually
Exactly.
decided to figure out for ourselves, as well as with the help of others, what that actually means. Because, I could say, hey, follow unconditional love, but you're the one that decides if you're going to do it. You're the one that
Right.
decides if you're going to listen. You're the one that decides that in this situation, are you going to forgive, or are you going to get upset? Are you going to get angry? That's on you, the individual. And I think that's, for the most part, like, where it for me, it shows me how powerful humans are, because humans can decide to do whatever the fuck they want. And also, I think that a thing that I've been thinking a lot about is, I think you mentioned where, oh, I think she cut out.
I'm back now.
So,
Sorry about
so
that.
so I think you mentioned how, like, the consciousness of the spirits are tied to our consciousness, or like our development, something like that.
Yes, because if we don't advance as spiritual beings, then the entities also can't advance. So basically, look at it like this: as humanity has devolved, because we know we were highly evolved at some point, and we devolved all the way down to obviously the state of consciousness where we're at, where if you tell somebody, hey, I got a feeling you shouldn't do that, and they're like, oh, your feelings are bullshit, like, okay, like, all right, fine, like, don't listen to me, and then the person goes out and does the thing anyway, and they get hurt or something happens, and they're like, oh, well, maybe your feelings were right. Well, duh, I told you. So that's a huge devolution from me being able to telepathically tell you, hey, like, dinner's on the stove, or like, you need to take a couple extra breaths, your red blood cells aren't getting enough oxygen, or something like that. Like, that's a huge devolution. Like, we have devolved. So as we devolved, all of these entities devolved, even to the point where you had to take um a savior story as complex as the story, like I was telling with Sita and Rama, all the way down to something as simple as Jesus. Like, if you look at the story of the Buddha, it's far more complicated and complex than the story of Jesus. Like, and even Jesus' story is way more complicated than what they say, but it's down to the lowest common denominator, because the entities have lost contact with their higher self, and also we have basically lost contact with our higher self, which I call Vagoya, right? Because that whole thing, all of this stuff is all tied together. So as we come closer into contact with ourselves, with our higher selves, which is our true self, then also these entities can come back into contact with themselves. And as we evolve, they evolve. So basically, like I said, something as simple as we need to be putting like water pumps in our yards, like well pumps. Well, that seems like a devolution in technology, because it's really just digging to the ground and sticking a pipe in there and putting a pump. But it's really an evolution when you understand the ecosphere or spiritual ecosphere that comes along with that well pump. Because if you have a well pump, then you can have more, like you can grow things in your garden and it won't cost as much because you don't have to pay for water. And if you don't have to pay for water, you can have more vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, animals and whatnot. Then if you have more of that, then you have more elementals. And if you have more elementals, then you have more spirits. You have more spirits and you have more angels. You have more angels, you have more archangels. It's like the whole, everybody starts to basically be resurrected. And I talked a few weeks ago about this, the prophecy of Ezekiel speaking to the dry bones and basically resurrecting the dry bones. And the dry bones are the spirits. The spirits are dead. This is why I keep crying out, like, hey, something is wrong here. Like, I'm supposed to be able to just think a thing, right? And it should appear. And the fact that I'm thinking a thing and it's still not appearing means that there's some disconnect in the energy. Like, and I don't know how the spirit realm works. So I have to call out to the creator to resurrect what needs to be resurrected. Again, this is why I think Vagoya came up. The well pumps, the jewels, the stripping of the titles, all of these things are interrelated because it was the crown, and especially in France, I mentioned this. It was the Haitian French Empire that sold out the black people who were all, just not even black people, the native people who were already on this land, especially like in what they considered the Louisiana territory. It was the Haitian Empire that sold the land with the people on it to the British. Now, mind you, there was people on the land. What do you think the Louisiana Purchase was? America paid for that land. There was a price. But they just bought the people that were already living on the land, and the land was already totally colonized. They just took it. So when you have these kind of things happen where a group of people on a private island called Haiti can just sell out millions of people who are already living and working in communities and atmospheres and ecospheres and all this stuff on the land, and basically ever since that point pretend like, oh, well, it wasn't us, it was somebody else who sold those people. Well, wait a minute, there was people on this land, and before you sold the land, there basically wasn't any slavery, and then after you sold the land, slavery went up by 1,000%. Like, 2 and 2 is 4. And so when you start putting the stories together, then of course they would try to go and take the crown jewels from Napoleon. Why? Napoleon was the only one that was fighting against the Haitian French influence, because France was called Francia. It wasn't called France. And so you have Napoleon fighting for the Francia people, and you have this Haitian French Empire, which includes all of the Caribbean islands that were basically ruling France from the Caribbean. Like, these stories are crazy. Like, when I was researching this was like November of last year, I was researching this very subject, and I was like, there is no way that this is true. But it's pretty well documented if you go and look at the primary sources. It's crazy. So when you start seeing the crown jewels being taken, the titles coming off, and all of this stuff, you realize that we are still not stealing, but we are retrieving our power. And because we're retrieving our power spiritually, it's manifesting physically. So we are slowly but surely learning how to use the spirit realm to again broadcast our intentions of what we're trying to accomplish. I just know we have to be on. Everybody has to be moving in the same energetic direction. And because I'm like the only female, like, I have to make sure that that part is balanced out, because it's very easy to just move forward and be like, hey, I guess the women have what they need. It's like, no, you don't understand. The women don't have what they need. The women need this. And I mentioned, like, when we're talking about the whole network marketing thing, if we if the men understand what the women need, they will the men can request the women to behave a certain way, and the women will.
Yeah, right.
Women can request for men to behave a certain way, and the men won't. But if you demand your women to act in a certain way, the women will do it, and they'll build themselves up.
So okay, so you said women can request a man to behave in a certain way and they won't do it?
No, they won't. Okay, let me put it this way. I started my YouTube channel in 2022, and I was a part of a group that was led by a man. Now, all this man had to do in 2022 was what you and I are doing now. Bring me on his show, let me talk to him. I don't know any, I know, let me put it this way. I'm just as educated now as I was in 2022 about different things, but still the same amount of education. And I was very in touch with my own energy because I had
Right.
done so much work on myself. All he had to do was what you did. But that's not what happened. What happened was I gave him information and stole it, gave it to his followers as if he is the one who discovered it and used it to make money. So what's the difference? No, I'm serious. What's the
It's
difference
crazy.
between you and him? I think personally that it's your background versus his background, but from what I can tell right now, it's something wrong with these black men. They got a whole other set of issues. They don't want to listen to women. When I get on my Twitter and I see black men talking about black women, they don't want to hear it. Like they will listen to every single person but the black woman in their life. So what happened to me? I got removed from the black people, and now I'm over here with a different group of people. I'm cool because I'm good wherever I go because that's how I feel. But imagine like for me as a person who's like, dang, I devoted everything to these black people. I tried everything to help them. Not a single one would listen to me like you're listening to me. Man, woman, or child. Nobody. I get to you, you're like, oh, we got to listen to what you say. We're going to implement the calendar. We're going to do whatever you want. Like, wait a minute. This is what I was looking for 3 years ago when I got on the internet, thinking, oh, I'm just going to help some people read some energy. And also, I think that it's not a coincidence that I ended up with the Zolkin, because that is a Hispanic Mexican thing. You know what I mean? Like, why would I end up with that information? Again, this goes back to giving Saul a happy ending and not reading Saul's story and saying, Dag, Saul was effed up. F him. You know what I mean? Like, because people read his story and they're like, Dag, he just tried to kill David. Well, David really deserved it, actually. So I'm not really too fond of these people like who they say in the Bible who are great, because when you dig into their stories, you're like, this person was a terrible person. Like I said about Abraham. I don't want to be, bloodline of Abraham. Are you kidding me? So whatever came out of Abraham, count me out of that. Like, I'm not trying to be involved with that, because something was wrong with that man, period. Like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I said Abraham, he was an old, dirty old man. Isaac he had autism or something. And Jacob was just dumb. Like, these are not smart people. So no, don't put me in a bloodline with them. Put me somewhere else. Like, please put me with any other group of people except those people, because something is wrong with them. And so that's what I said. I said this, and that's what the creator did. He said, okay, we'll take you out of that group. Let's put you in another group and into this whole Zolkin stuff, because it just doesn't make any sense why I would end up with this. I mean, it's the only conclusion I can come to is that I did some kind of good thing, that I helped some entity close a chapter, brought some clarity to some entity that otherwise had basically been ignored. That's the best conclusion I can come to, because there's nothing else that makes sense to me.
So it's Vulcan with a V, the Vulcan god?
Votum. He's it's Pacal, Pacalvotum. Pacal Votum. Palenque, I think, is where he was the last, basically like the last king of Palenque.
Pakal Votan. right?
Yeah, Votan. Yeah, Votan.
Okay. Just want to make
Because the
sure.
other guy, okay, so there's
Oh,
another
so this is
guy.
Mayan. This is, you said the
Yeah,
Mayan.
Mayan. Yeah, that's why I keep saying like Mexican. I don't exactly, I ain't too good
Yeah,
with the
Mexican. Yeah.
geography.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's Mexican.
I think it's Mexico somewhere. I don't know if it's north
So
or south or.
this guy came from where? How did you find it? Like what's your relation with it?
So, okay.
So the calendar is based on this or closely?
Okay, so okay, the calendar is a Mayan calendar. Although, like I said, the modern Mayan people, even the ones who say they're timekeepers, they don't understand it. So, but it comes from the ancient Mayan system. This is the calendar that the Zolkin is the calendar that they kept. Ancient Mayan people, they kept this calendar. And so this calendar allowed them to escape a lot of tribulation and a lot of turmoil, which is why I call it the
Oh.
Jubilee calendar. Because if you follow it, it works for being on the Jubilee cycle because it ties directly into the 13-month calendar, like 13 perfect sets of 28 days. Plus, it also ties into larger cycles, and it's a really good way to measure time when you don't have to deal with the influence of weather, because tropical astrology is based on seasons, but the Zolkin cycle is not based on seasons. So you know that it comes from a place that's where they don't have a lot of seasons. And so another place where they don't have a lot of seasons is India. They don't have like winter and
Right.
spring. They don't have a lot of seasons because they're closer to the equator. So places that are closer to the equator pretty much operate off of this, like basically even system, because they're not dealing so much with the changes of the seasons. But when you get to places that are seasonal, then you have to still match it up with the seasonal cycle. And so what they did was, okay, so you have basically this Zolkin cycle and the Vedic astrology pretty much running together. And so what they did was, when they took away those 10 days in 1582, if you notice, they took away the 10 days in 1582 in England first, and then they didn't take it away in America until 1752. And so when they took it away in America in 1752 and switched us to this, they just took away 10 days. They literally took 10 days out the calendar. That put America out of North America out of alignment with Mexico. Because everybody didn't get the rest of the world didn't unify to this missed 10 days until like the 1920s. So
Wow.
also, when you're looking at like dates of things that happen, if you don't know what calendar that person was on, you really don't know what date that happened. This is why birth certificates and all this stuff are so egregious, because if you try to look at things that basically is before the 1900s, you don't know whether they were on the British time, the American time, some other time. You have no idea. They called it the same thing, but they calculated it differently, because you had the Church of London, the Church of England, and the Pope trying to figure out how to count the days. These people, that's why we have the Gregorian. Before we had the Gregorian, we had the Julian. These people couldn't figure out how to count the days. And because, think about it, the closer to the North Pole, the more seasons you have. So because they had seasons, they're trying to apply their seasonal calendar to these people who don't deal in seasons. This is how you get the whole like Placidius method, which accounts for the seasons. It's very it's very convoluted, and there's very few people who can explain what I just explained, because it took a lot of research to figure out all these different pieces were in play. That's why my calendar, it doesn't just cover the Vedic chart, which is the Krishnamurti. I have on my chart, I have the Krishnamurti time day, which is like 6 a.m. Even though we changed time zone, I'll talk about that in a minute. I have the Krishnamurti, which is the Vedic calculation for 6 a.m. I have the American Eastern Standard Time, I call it American Troy, for 6 a.m. And then I have the Zolkin Day, because anyway, it's very complicated, but I have the Zolkin Day. Then I have the Zolkin Moon month, which is like 1 through 13, and the Zolkin Day of the month, so that people can keep track of that. And I have the market cycle, because the market cycle has to deal with the Roman. The market cycle, the nun day, that all has to deal with the Roman. Then I have the Sabbath, because the Sabbath has to deal with the quote unquote Judeo-Christian. And then I just added to the calendar like the cycle of 13 days, the cycles of 7 days, because there's multiple cycles of 7 days going on at the same time, because you have a Zolkin month, which has 7-day cycle. Then you have our Lunar New Year, which is based on, like I said, the day after the Pisces new moon, which starts our Lunar New Year. That has to deal with the lunar mansions. I just figured that out. Like, oh, this is where the lunar mansions come into play. The lunar mansions has always been like a confusing thing to me. And then the last part of it is the actual moon phase, because the moon phase is also a totally different timekeeping piece, because it's based on basically the moon spends about 2 to 3 days in each moon phase. So it's 9 moon phases altogether. So it's kind of with the market cycle, but it's kind of spread out because it's 2 to 3 days, not one day. So it's a lot of like, that calendar is a highly technical piece of information, and it's got so much information on it that I really don't even know how to tone it down, because it's very, very complex. So Paco Votum, okay, so I didn't explain about him. So in addition to the Zolkin, all the other Zolkin stuff, right? Paco Votum had his own tomb days, and these were the days that were inscribed on his tomb. And these were days because Votum sounds like Votum, which is one of the calendar days that the Romans observed. Now, mind you, I'm doing research on the Roman cycle, and I see the word Votum, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that word. It sounds like Votan, like Pacal Votan. What is this about? It's the vows. So they had vow days in the Roman calendar. Why does the Roman calendar have vow days named after King Saul? This is where this is the part they don't want to talk about. That means all these histories are really, there was always a master calendar. It was always connected. Like I've been saying, they just separated it out and gave each person one piece so that they could never put it back together. But with the help of the creator, I was able to bring them all together, and I can explain everything on that calendar. If you ask these modern people, scientists, about their stuff, they can't explain anything. They just say, well, this is what we've always done. It's a tradition. Okay, well, where's the books on the tradition?
Yeah, don't ask questions.
Yeah, don't ask any questions, because no one, you could ask me very detailed questions and I'll be like, oh, because ... Or like, how is it that so many of these vow days, now mind you, the vow days rotate, because the Zolkin kin family only goes from 1 to 260. So it's not a full calendar year in the Gregorian or the Julian. So explain to me how so many of the vow days and also the galactic portal days lie on our holidays. Not like, this is not like once or twice. We have a holiday coming up. It's called Veterans Day. That's a vow day. That's a vow day.
Wow.
How is that possible? Like, this happens all the time. Like when we have like because I also threw in there the Orthodox feast days, some of them the important ones, and like, how do all of these things line up? How do these, it's the number, it's a statistic impossibility that this calendar lines up the way that it does. And this is year after year. I've gone back because I like, I mentioned before, I went back and I pulled this calendar together for the last 200 years. So in the last 200 years, I can go and pull a day and tell you the energy for that day. So I've done this, like with the Treaty of Paris that was in 1783. That was one of the reasons why I had to go and put all these numbers together, because I wanted to see what the kin number was on that day. Now I know the kin number. I could literally pull it with the rest of the calendar and say everything, that all the energies that were like active on that day, like when they did this signing of this treaty. No one can do that. That's this calendar has previous technology, like it can tell us what was going on all the way back, plus it can tell us what was going on all the way forward. It ties into it. It's a past, present, it's a time machine, really, because I can look at the energies for the Treaty of Paris and say, oh, they was using this entity, they was using that entity, they did this, I used to do it all the time. Now it's like, oh God, I gotta pull out this pile of paper to see what it's right now it's just a lot of work to do it. But eventually it won't be. It'll be very easy, because I'm gonna have to go back and rewrite the calendars for the past, so that because when you're trying to heal, when you're trying to rectify a story, what I call restoring or reversing a curse, you have to go back to when that person was born, and you have to literally like attach them to the contract they had at birth. So that's what I said Jesus did a lot of times when he healed people, especially children. Like there's a story of when he healed the man's child, and he asked the man, how long has your child been ill? And so the man said, oh, since a young child. And then he asked him a couple more questions, and then Jesus was like, okay, boop, he's healed. What? And I said this like 2 years ago, before I knew any of this stuff about the calendar and anything else. I said he asked that because he went back to before that child was sick and restored him to the point before he was sick. And that's how I was able to heal them, by restoring them to their previous contracts before the quote unquote deceiver came in and gave them a new contract. And that's what my enchanting by scales does. It takes you back to your original contract that was assigned to you at birth and says, this is your contract here. So if you're not operating out of this contract, all these other contracts are null and void. This is the one that's yours.
Right.
And just ignore everything else. It's not true. It's not real. Again, confirming reality. That's all Jesus did. He confirmed reality. Now, he probably knew how all this stuff worked, but that's been completely lost to history. This is my version of it. I can confirm reality. I can look at, I could almost tell people how what's wrong with their contracts just by the day they were born on, without even getting into all the stuff that's in the Enchanting by Scales. That's not by an accident. That's because that's how people. How do you think the witch of Endor was able to call up Samuel? She went to his contract and was like, boop, 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 boop. I need this entity. And Samuel pops up. Now, how do these other people, these weird, sorcerers and stuff, do necromancy? They do necromancy by calling up the spirit through death. But I can do it by calling up the spirit through life. That's what the enchanting by scales is. Because once you get this information for like your loved ones, your whoever, your kids, your what, like my son, he cries a lot. Like he gets so upset and he starts crying. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure that's in his chart. I just been theorizing on where it is. Well, I pulled his enchanting and I was like, oh, he's in masculine energy. And what I say masculine energy is crying. So of course he's gonna cry because he's in masculine energy. My girls, not so much. They're more in feminine energy, so they don't cry. They run their mouth. And that's actually accurate because it's based on your chart placements, not your gender. Your chart placements will tell you whether you're feminine or masculine in nature, but it doesn't change your parts. It's just how you express yourself. And so anyway, a lot of that stuff is tied into that. It's very the more readings I do, the more fascinating I find this stuff, because it's like This just changes everything. Imagine you have somebody who has autism and you're like, dang, they didn't have autism before they turned 4 and they got these shots and all this stuff. We can pull their enchanting and say, confirm this reality and let's see what happens. What if it solves the
Mm,
problems with no drugs? No
yeah.
nothing, like just confirm the reality of this child being in this energy. And of course, there's always different kind of stuff that goes with that. Maybe they just their brain naturally turns on and they naturally heal. It's possible. Like people think that the AI is what is going to be solving these people problems. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
right. Well, that's what's
I
so
don't think
funny.
so.
Yeah, you got these AI companies being worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, like the actual technology that is going to do what all these people say AI is going to do and more is, basically free. It's
It
like
it
like
is free. Like it literally is free. If they had invested in people like me who are
right.
problem solvers, a feminine energy who wants to solve the problem simply like females do, instead of investing in males who want to solve the problems in complex ways. There's nothing wrong with solving a problem in a complex manner. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes simple is better.
Yeah, and it can scale up way more easily, way more efficiently, and basically with like very, I mean that's why we're bending reality to our will, and we're not spending anything physical.
No.
Like what we the impact, the influence we are having is basically priceless to the ruling elite, and they are having a difficult time keeping up with the trillions upon trillions of dollars and influence and power that they got.
Right.
So it's like obviously it's very clear what system actually is aligned, like what system actually matters, and that's why it's like as reality begins to it's been serving us, but like as it begins to serve us on the social proof side, like as it because
Right.
something like what you were saying in terms of like the calendar and like doing all the calculations going back and all of this, like that is going to cost a certain amount of money. And to make your life easier, being the queen that you are, you're going to have at least a few people working with you, supporting you
Right.
on
I
that.
can't do it by myself. It would be impossible. What I really have to do is train people to work on it because if I spend my time going into the past, I could get stuck in the past. It's so as a person who's a natural historian, it's really easy to get stuck researching the past. My grandfather was a historian. Like I come from a line of historians. So I really want to go and just lay in the past and really soak up all that information. But that's not, we have to be looking towards the future. The past doesn't hold our fortune, it's the future that does. And I understand that. And so I have to keep like pushing this whole thing of moving into the future and not being distracted by the flashiness and the excitement of the past. I think for people like me, the past is very exciting.
Yes, for sure, definitely. And um, going back to the point of like the spirits basically like devolving with us,
Right,
something that I keep kind of like entertaining and working with is like what I felt recently, maybe the last year, is that of course God has the ability to intervene in this reality at any moment.
right,
He's the creator. He's the one. He's whatever he wants goes. Um, and what I felt, and people always say, "Oh, well, if God is real, why are people starving? Why are people this? Why are people that?" What I have felt since I've been um, seeing my elevation uh, happening dramatically, specifically the last year, is like as we elevate, as we do the energetic work, it almost feels like he has an excuse to get involved in the reality, and he has the excuse through us. So the more
right,
that we are able to um, manage the powerful energy that is to be able to communicate with him, to receive his communications, as a result to receive his energy, or at least in the best way possible that we can, then that allows him to uh, work his magic in this reality. Now, of course, he has the ability to do it without us. It's not like he can't do it without us, but it's very interesting that it almost feels as if he allowed himself to devolve connected with the humans. Now, he has at any moment, he didn't actually devolve because he's God, so he could do whatever he wants, but it it's very interesting that it's like it's almost like God it's like God went all in on humanity to show everybody else that humans truly are made in his perfect image. Because, you know,
Exactly.
you see all these spirits, you see all these entities, you see all these probably extraterrestrial aliens or whatnot. And I think the Atlas is a great example of, something big going on. They don't believe it. They don't believe that humans really are, made in God's image. They cannot comprehend how humans that have been around for all these thousands of years keep fucking it up. They don't believe that humans have the ability to truly elevate to be God's glory, to be his glory, because that's what it is. That's a human is God's glory. So it's almost like God said, okay, you don't believe it? Well, now I'm going to tie my own abilities to humans. So if humans continue to devolve, he is going to continue to devolve. Now, obviously, as I said before, he can get out of it whenever, but he's basically showing everything, the whole reality, that he's willing to bet the house on humans. And so what's happening now is, as we are beginning to evolve and elevate, the spiritual world is being empowered, and God now has the excuse to go savage on the reality. Because it's like he's been given the excuse to be like, well, humans are now being empowered, so here I am. And obviously, as we are being empowered, he's being given the basically excuse to fully emit himself through us in this reality, which as a result then impacts everything.
Right.
Because I would say, for the most part, everybody has counted humanity out.
Yes.
Everybody has basically just said, oh, God, that's amazing, but like they ain't nothing.
Right.
It's these animals, it's these that the Anunnaki, like all
Right.
these
Oh my
different
gosh.
races, all these different spirits and entities and races and beings. They look at human like they're scum, like they're nothing. And so, in order to have humanity reclaim its power, God has to basically be able to show everyone that, hey, I didn't get involved. Like I was not here. I wasn't the savior of humanity. I wasn't. I mean, kind of going back to the fact that we're saved, right? It's like
Right.
we don't have to be saved. We're already saved. And
Right.
I think in doing, because what I'm feeling is like, as I continue to do the energetic work, I feel God's power in this reality intensify by the second, by the minute, by the hour, by the day. Like it's going parabolic, but I'm like, this
Right.
doesn't really, like, but it's always been there, but something's going on. Something's going on. Like my connection with the spirits is intensifying. Something's going on. So it's almost like, and I think this is why the wicked or the misaligned have been so hell bent on creating this matrix, creating this system, because they did have a chance of basically, in many ways, almost like taking over God, or like
Right.
holding him
That's what they were
hostage,
trying to
or
do.
imprisoning him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, what you're describing is exactly what a parent would do with their child. There's no parent that is going to watch their child suffer and just leave their child to suffer again. And so what they thought would happen is that if they could if and this is the they is the deceiver and his minions, if they could convince humanity that our creator had left us and we were here by ourselves to fend for ourselves and just figure it out, that we would, because the creator will only do what you ask, which is why I'm always asking because I know, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. Like, you have to ask. Like, there's no getting around that. So they know, if they could convince us to stop asking, to stop seeking, to stop knocking, then the creator would be hands off. And so as we begin to, not even begin, but as we have intensified, at least I have intensified my asking, intensified my seeking, and all of that, that is what is happening. The creator is also intensifying, because we have
Yes, right.
intensified our approach to him. We're no longer like, oh, this our creator is so great and wonderful, we just have to praise him all the days. That's what the angels do. The angels can do that because they don't have bodies. I have a body, which means the body needs food, which means the creator needs to provide the food for the body. So no, we're past this. Again, we're not in the angels are like stuck in the new moon phase, right? Which is where you have the union. We're not in the union right now. We're in the full moon stage, which is the creator is in his full power, and we are getting closer to being in our full power. And as we come into our full power, the creator can come into his full power. And that's why I'm purposely energetically pushing so hard, because the last in my I made like a bunch of videos today, but I said, if the spirit realm doesn't confirm my reality that I picked, and I had said this to you before, I don't let the spirits tell me what I'm going to do when I'm the one with the body. So if the spirit realm does not confirm my reality that I decided, then I'm going to remove my energy from the spirit realm. That means no dreams, no running around doing all this work and all this crazy stuff they keep trying to do to me. I will say no, and I will interact directly with the creator and bypass the spirit realm. Now, that's not really favorable to them, because just like any entity, if you don't talk about them, they lose their power. You have to
Right.
remember them. So if I'm saying I will act as if I never knew you and go directly to my father to get the job done, there's going to be no more spirit realm. Somebody like people like us who have so much energetic authenticity, remove our energy from the spirit realm, what are they going to do? Now, I've been threatening this for months. That's why I was like, I'm not working with these spirits anymore and all of this and all of that. Okay. I've been threatening this for months. I mean it. Now I really mean it, because I'm not going to keep going through this with a bunch of entities who don't have bodies, who listen to deceiver thinking they know what's better for me than me, the one who actually live in this realm and deal with these people. No, that's not true. Like, that's what I mean. That's the major deception that people are falling under right now. They believe that as they awaken to their spiritual gifts, that the spiritual gifts have more power than them. I don't need a spiritual gift to have power. I am, because he is. I'm made in the image of the creator. Whether I have a single spiritual gift or not is irrelevant. I don't need, as if I have the calendar, I actually don't need any spiritual gifts. This is one of, like, again, this whole channeling thing and all of that. I have been stepping away from all of that stuff because tarot and if I have the calendar, I don't need it. If I have the scales, I really don't need it. Between the calendar and the scales, I really don't need to do any intuiting. All I have to do is point to something on the list, look at the charts, and say, you might want to do this on this day. Like, even this whole market cycle concept, like, I'm working through my thought process with that. And I just feel like once I really get a handle on it, I'm not going to need the spirit realm. So they're running out of time to negotiate with me. It's the same thing I said about Congress. They didn't open back up by yesterday. I don't think they're going to be able to open it all. And if they do open, it's going to be because the Republicans use this nuclear option that they already had. And if they open via the nuclear option, our government will never be able to return to normal, because that means that whoever has the most people in Congress can do whatever they want. That's why they don't want to do that. Because if they do it, they can't go backwards. Now, they've already done it with the nominations. So now when Trump has people he wants, they can nominate them all at once. They've already done the nuclear option for that. If they do the nuclear option and reopen government, they'll never be able to shut the government down again, because the opposing party, whoever has the most people, will just use the nuclear option. This is how Congress is. Once they take on a new power, they never give up that power. And so I was right. I told them, hey, get this government open by the 13th day. They didn't do it. Sometime this week, I expect them to use this nuclear option, because you have people, either they're going to use the nuclear option and reopen government, or they're going to use the tariffs to pay for the things that are affecting the people, i.e. Social Security, i.e. EBT. They already use it for WIC. So they're just going to use the tariff money to pay for it. And they're not going to need a Congress. Who needs a Congress? If the president has tariff money, he can pay for all the stuff. Why do you need Congress? Like, at all. Like, literally, just dismiss them and send them home. We don't need more laws. What do we need more laws for? So, again, they play with my gangster. Now they're going to find out. It's just, I feel, and I'm saying this so that the spirit realm understand. I'm seeing what's happening here. Like, I see reality. What I'm broadcasting is becoming true faster and faster. So if the spirit realm wants to play with me, try it. But between the calendar and the scales, I don't need the spirit realm. I don't need them to intercede for me. I can go directly to the creator just by using the calendar and the scales. So what exactly is their point? Because they're quickly losing relevance. Or I can go into the demonic realms and use the negatively polarized entities by empowering them. That just totally takes away all the power from the so-called positive oriented beings. If I use the negative oriented beings, I don't care. I'm tired of messing around them. I've been doing this long enough. I should have had what I needed day one. It shouldn't be day 3 years later and I'm still crying about the same stuff I've been crying about for 3 years. That's unacceptable. I wouldn't do that for. Would I let my child go hungry for 3 years? That's nuts. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, this is big with the spirits. I mean, I think they're definitely not taking it lightly. And I think this is partly the fact that, you know, they've also devolved. And so
Right.
as we're gaining our power, like they are rapidly doing what they can on their side to catch up. Because, you know,
Right.
like before I used to think the physical is like dense, and it you know, and I still, in some ways, I still like believe it, but it's like it takes things longer to happen in the physical. But then as you were speaking, I'm like, it seems as if the human is the one that decides. So
Yes.
in you making it clear about all of this in terms of the responsibility and roles of the spiritual world, like they are rapidly catching up to what you just said.
Right.
And so it's like they are not ahead of you. They are just following your lead.
Right.
So
They need to move faster, because
yeah.
I only say that because the amount of pressure that has been put on humanity for the last 400, 500,000, 1,000 years by the deceiver has been immense. The deceiver has not let up off our asses for 1,000 years. How long are we supposed to put up with this? Like, if we're, and there is where we did evolve, like the I can't remember that group of people, like the Sabians, like um the Cathars. There were points where we had evolved like very rapidly. Like, so it's not like we've had this, you know, 2,000 years plus since Jesus died and there's been no evolution. No. We have evolved rapidly in some places. Why is it that when we did evolve rapidly, that the spirits were still evolving slowly. No. They should be evolving faster than us because they don't have bodies. Like you just said, we're moving through all of these densities to be able to have the capacity to say, hey, I'm the human with the body. And that means when I'm hungry, I have to eat. To be able to have that capacity when you're talking about a spirit who doesn't even have to be bothered with any of that because they don't have a body, they don't operate on our time, and they don't operate by our rules. They break every law of physics that there is. Why is it taking them so long? So either again, they're trying to play with my gangster, which I don't recommend, or something is still holding them back. In which case, if after all of this time and all of these contracts canceled and all of this work humanity has been doing to evolve, and they still can't figure out their head from their ass, then the creator needs to come in and intervene. Because how can you teach? I can't teach a spirit how to be a spirit. That's not my job, actually. They're supposed to help me be a better human because that's what their job is. So if they need to relearn how to be a spirit, the creator has to come in and reset that. And I think that's the great reset that these people are trying to do. They want the reset to be the deceiver resets these entities and not the creator. And we're calling on the creator to come and do the hard reset of these spiritual entities. Because when a human dies, that's a hard reset. So I'm not saying these spirits need to die. I'm sure there's some other, way that I don't know that they get reset, but they need to be reset to their original, again, just like I said with the scales, to their original contracts so that they can actually do them. They can't do their original contracts if they also have the deceiver holding over them the wrong things that they've done. That's why I said a few weeks ago, all these spirits are forgiven. Like, you need to forgive yourself. Everybody needs to forgive themselves. We were all deceived by the deceiver. Can we move on now? And like, if they're having that hard of a time coming back into their power, coming back into their kingdoms, the creator is the only one who can come and intervene with that. Because we as humanity we're broadcasting, and I'm always broadcasting, hey, you've been forgiven. So like, why are you still? And I think that it's working because like I said yesterday, France also got a tornado, which it haven't had a tornado since the 1800s. So a tornado is one of the entities, basically the Der Kadeshi, sort of. I guess it's more like an Air Kadeshi, the wind, the high wind. So I think that again, this Haitian French Empire has been sending all these storms to America, and now they're starting to go back like a return to sender to where they come from. Because why would they it's so random. First, your government collapses, then you get your crown jewels robbed, then you get a tornado. That's a lot. That's a lot. If that happened in America, people would be,
Yeah,
you
that's
know what I mean?
wild.
That's a lot. That's not just one thing. Like your government, and then the crown jewels, and then a tornado happens near Paris, which haven't happened for 100 years. Something's definitely going on. So I think that the spirits are coming back into themselves, but we need them to pick up the pace because I look at it like this: for every day that's delayed, that's somebody who takes themselves out of the picture. People are unaliving themselves due to this pressure, and one life lost from this is too much. How many people in America are taking themselves out every day due to the deceiver deceiving them? So one life is too many. And soon it'll be somebody close to you. You know what I mean? So this is unacceptable behavior for me. Their delay is causing unnecessary pain and suffering and unnecessary loss of life. And that is the one thing my friend and I said from the very beginning is unacceptable. No unnecessary pain and suffering, no unnecessary loss of life. So every day that they delay is a person that we as the Holy Emperium can't intervene on their behalf and help them out of the suffering that they're in. That's one more child traumatized every single day that we can't intervene and get these people food, get them clean water, get them some hope, get them some help. Like that's to me, that's one day is too many. So yeah, that's why I'm pushing them harder because we can't afford it. When a child is traumatized because they can't eat, like they don't have physical food to eat, you the amount of work you have to do on yourself to overcome that in America, and I know other places are not as extreme as America, but in America, the amount of work you have to do on yourself to overcome that is a trauma that stays with you for life. Like you have to work really, really hard to come out of that. And that's why it's unacceptable to me. Suffering. And it's not necessary.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I mean obviously we're in the right direction. Like
Oh yeah.
everything is moving according to plan, which is wonderful. And I think with the spirits, I mean, I'm not as well versed in the spiritual world. Definitely, like putting my foot in. What I've been seeing and noticing is is kind of what I said before, where like I know that if I continue to do what I am called to do, like whatever games the spirits might be doing or not doing, whatever it might be, like they have to elevate to where I'm at. Like
Right.
they have to uh maneuver and figure out however it is that they got to figure out to where I'm at, because I mean clearly like humans are very powerful. Like it's very obvious that humans are extremely powerful beings, and there's a reason why this reality has been so misaligned and under so much control for so long, because if we are able to tap into our powers, like it's going to be it's going to be immense. And I think it's very obvious, at least for me, that there's very few people in this current present reality of the billions of people that are actually doing shit,
Right.
like that are actually like moving the needle. And so in many ways, like I don't blame the spirits, because it's like, who do they have to follow? Who do they have to serve? They don't have anybody.
Right.
And so I think for me, in terms of my own role and what I feel is my responsibility, is they're following me. And so in order for them to follow me, I have to learn how to manage them. Like I have to learn how to honor them, how to, because in many ways I see these spirits as like, before, when we first started, I saw these spirits as these very powerful beings, and they are.
Right.
But now, the more we continue to talk, it's like they're like babies.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like, it's like, how can I expect a baby to clean the house for me, to do this for me, to do that for me, to drive me around, to do that, like, to do the things that I would think is simple for a human to do, but it's a baby. And
Right.
so it's like, how do I, as the human, take responsibility, both obviously for my reality and in terms of my influence as a human being, as a divine being in this reality. And two, if these spirits are, like, for me at least, it seems like these spirits, even though they're immensely powerful, it's like they're still in some sort of baby-like state. And I think that has a lot of to do with what you're saying in terms of they have devolved with us.
Right.
So if they have devolved with us, like I have to evolve myself. I have to pick myself up and basically grab them and say, "You're coming with me."
Right.
And as you're coming with me, yes, I'm going to nourish you. Yes, I'm going to provide for you. Yes, I'm going to honor you. And I think I've been consciously doing that with a lot of these different entities, but specifically currently with the Olympians. And definitely important for us to, in the upcoming spaces, in terms of how to communicate with all these entities, but is what I have noticed in me connecting deeply with the Olympians and these other deities and gods and goddesses that I've been slowly like getting to work with, is like I see their power in this reality intensifying.
Right. Right.
So I'm like, what was going on before then? I mean, am I just like, having like a schizophrenic episode? Like, am I just full of myself? Like, do I really honestly just like, bought into my own belief that I'm this like super powerful human being? Or are they really not where I thought they were? And so if we all devolved, and they have, because they're spirits, maybe they devolved faster than us. Like maybe they literally were just, because we went down so low that like they fell even
That
lower,
could be.
and now it's like we're picking them up from their basically baby state and saying, hey, look, we're going to honor you,
Right.
we're going to provide offerings for you, we're going to like feed you energy to bring you back up to a position where now you could really truly honestly serve us.
Right.
I'm not interested in a baby serving me.
Right.
A baby, a baby has to be fed, a
Right.
baby has to be nourished. Once the baby is grown up, as you said, 14 plus, and they can take care of themselves, like, now you can provide.
Right.
Now you are able to be an a functioning human, and be there to serve. And so I think like we are getting to a point in terms of we're able to um we're now, by empowering ourselves, by embracing the calendar, by really hashing these things out, because these are very deep concepts that we're
Yes.
discussing. Like these are very deep things that most people, actually everyone, has not really gone deep into, because they don't have the level of awareness and consciousness that we
Right.
have. We've done a lot of work to get here. So that's what I'm seeing, because I mean, we've talked about this before, and you said it many times, like it doesn't make sense why they're acting this way.
Right.
It doesn't make sense why, you call on them to come and support you, but notice, like, you call on them from the high. Well, what if they're down low?
Oh, back to the unity. Oh my goodness. I did not, I said this about humans. We have to get down to the lowest common denominator. If that's true of them as well, I don't even know. Like, this is like nuts. I think you're right,
Boom.
though. Yikes. Oh my
Right?
God.
So it's like,
Lord.
it's us. We're the king, we're the queen, we're the emperor. And it's like, yes, obviously we're learning how to command them, but it's like we also have to understand that it's like they're just picking up their marbles. They're just like, what the fuck just happened to us? How how did
Didn't
how did we fall so low?
Or like, what is that other princess story? Like Snow White. Like they've been asleep
Yes,
and they're
yes.
just waking up, and it's like, I thought that was about us. Like they talk about that. I thought they were saying that we fell asleep. But if they're saying the spirits fell asleep, Lord have mercy. Oh
Mm.
my goodness. That changed the whole conversation. Wow. Oh Lord. That changes the whole conversation.
So
Oh
now
my
it's about
gosh.
it. Now it's about not telling them to serve us, is giving them the energy to be like, hey, you're good, like the mom, you take
Right.
your kid to go play soccer, and you're the mom there cheering him on, and oh,
Right.
congrats, you did the practice, you scored the goal, this, that, like really being like, hey, you're amazing. It's okay that you were asleep. It's okay that, like you've
Right.
been gone for all these like hundreds or thousands of years, or you actually were inflicting significant chaos and pain and suffering on
Oh my
humanity, on
gosh.
God's people. But like, it's okay. Now you follow us, you serve us, but first we're going to empower you. We're going to elevate you. We're going to provide you with the energetic nourishment, aka God's energy, because it's flowing through
Right.
us to
Right.
elevate you and have you come up to our level as we continue to elevate. And when they're at our level and continue to grow, their ability to serve us is going to be, and we're seeing that, like we're seeing how reality bends to our will, literally, like instantly. You started talking about the orbs. You started talking about the orbs. It's been
Right.
orbs nonstop. Everyone's talking about these fucking orbs now. Everybody and their mother is
Right.
talking about the orbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
And so I think,
goodness.
maybe thinking about how the orbs tie into this whole thing, because I mean, I think everyone's feeling the energy now, and they're saying, "Holy shit, the humans might be able to do it." And so,
Right.
you got Atlas coming in, sending the orbs, or the orbs coming in. Everyone's eager.
Right.
Everyone's eager, like, oh my gosh, they might actually do it. They might actually pull it off at the final minute. The final
Right.
moment when everyone was the cataclysm was coming, everyone was going to kill themselves, we're going to start again. No, but wait.
Right.
There's a new hope. There's a new a new dawn.
Right. Good God Almighty. Like we just barely. I think this is when I think of barely squeaking it out. This is it,
Literally,
because
literally, yeah.
like I had not considered that at all, like at all. And so if I can broadcast, hey, what would that look like? Broadcasting, hey, for all the spirits to wake up and to follow us because we're your new leaders. Like, we're the
Mm.
ones in charge now. Like, we know there was an old, it's like what I said to you the other day, like when you were like working against me all summer last summer. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. It's like, you don't know what you're doing. You're just out here like doing all kinds of stuff and having a great time. And my friend and I were like, oh my God, who is doing this to us? Why are they doing this? This is awful. What do we do to deserve this? And it's like, no, it's another human that's just, spreading their energy out in ways that I would call reckless, but it's fine. And what I say, hey, it's fine, good thing I don't hold grudges, because and maybe that's exactly what the energies was doing. They was just like, oh, we were asleep. We thought we was in a dream. Like, no, you were actually like torturing us. Like, but we're not gonna hold it against you. What we need you to do is come back into yourself. Like, join us on your unity scale. Join us on the unity scale where we worship the Creator in spirit and in truth, because that's what the unity scale is. And yes, I have a name of the Creator. So who is assigned to my name? Like, just broadcasting this from a very, very elementary level. Like, a baby cannot. Oh my! I was thinking about this earlier too. A baby cannot see out of his eyes when it's born, right? But it can hear. So the baby knows the mother's voice more than anything. That's why if you let's say when you're pregnant, you should play music for the baby, because the baby can hear the music inside the womb. And I was just thinking earlier, what if the third eye is really the ears? Because it doesn't make sense for the third eye to be in the middle of your head somewhere. But if it was your ears, it would make a lot more sense. And so if your third eye is your ears, maybe these spirits really need to hear our voice. Like, that's why I make the videos, but deliberately say things like, it's okay, we forgive you. Can you just come back into yourself? Like, join us on the unity consciousness. Instead of, like my friend had said, to send them back to the Creator for transmutation. That's okay if you're dealing with spirits that know what they were doing. But if you're dealing with entities that don't know, we need to call them to ourselves. Like I said with the
Right.
orbs, like
And the
I
babies hear and they can feel the touch. So,
right,
as we do the offerings, as we do all the different stuff,
right,
that's touching them. That's
right.
giving them the warmth. Who has been showing devotion and
Mm,
cherish to any of these spirits? It's been just magic. Magic currently is we're just going to take advantage of these innocent babies. Because the
right.
thing is, look, they've been torturing us, quote unquote. Have humans not been torturing them?
Yes, 100%.
So, what we're doing in this new world order, in the Holy Imperium, is putting our foot down and saying, we are the shepherds.
Right,
Follow us. You are protected under us, both humans as well as spirits. Everybody is under our protection now. But if you're going to be under our protection, we have a certain way of living.
right,
We have the calendar, we have like a certain structure, we have the
right,
discipline, we have Saturn, we have Chronos giving
right,
us the structure, the time that is
right.
necessary in order for us to follow, to be in alignment to God. I mean, wouldn't it be the human being that brings everything back to be in alignment with God? It has to be the human.
Yeah.
It can't be anybody else. It doesn't matter how powerful they are, how mighty they are. It's like everyone is waiting for us.
Wow.
And and
For
and
us
of
to come
course,
into our kingdom.
God would say, "I'm stepping back." Because
Right.
if I truly made them in my image, they are going to shut everyone up. They're going to
Right.
show everyone that, even as you said, the final minute. Because I
Right.
remember, I mean, most of my life in terms of when I quote unquote woke up in college, the first few years as I began to do the energetic work, I was like, it was no hope for me. I was so like, the anguish and the desolation that I felt was so intense because it literally felt like there was no way out.
Right.
And now it's the complete opposite. I
Right.
I pray and forgive those that have gone against God, that have
Right.
done wrong to their brothers and sisters, that have harmed, as you were saying, animals, that have harmed the nature, that have done so much harm upon reality. But I forgive them because all of this had to happen in order for us to be at this state. And the only way that we can truly elevate and heal is through love. It's through love.
Right. Wow. Wow. Well, I think we have to end it
Yeah,
because
yeah, no, this is great. And
I don't. I mean, I just don't even know what else I have to. I have to process,
reversing
man.
Sita's
This is
curse. Reversing Sita's
exactly.
curse.
This is it. This is like the women particularly have to forgive. Like it has to be us.
Yes.
We have to
Yes.
forgive. Like
Right.
and say, you know,
Right.
it's
Yes.
okay. Like
Mm.
it's fine. So if we can do it,
Yeah,
then
the mother, right?
the
Because
mother,
if
yeah,
the feminine forgives, now she focuses not on defending or attacking or, doing this, that. No, it's embracing now and,
right,
bringing the baby to her bosom and
right,
giving him nourishment or her
right,
nourishment, giving the baby
right,
nourishment. And
right,
that's both the
yeah,
humans, but really mainly from this discussion, the spirits.
right. Good Lord. I don't even have words. Like I don't know how many times this happens. It feels like a lot. Like wow, it's frightening actually. If it's true,
I
which it
mean,
feels
it's like we're
true,
the only
it's
ones.
completely frightening. Like
We're the only ones.
literally, nobody is trying. And I said that when we freed the spirits with the dumb diverses, we were like, nobody noticed that the Holy Spirit was bound. Like I was
Ah,
genuinely like confused. Like
wow.
you mean to tell me the Holy Spirit had been bound by this contract from the 1400s and nobody noticed? Like it was so
And you're
it was a
and you're
surreal experience.
and you're brilliant, but the system would say stupid enough to think that what you did, well, just, I mean, to post the
Right.
the contract outside, like, it's like that's next level. That's next level.
Nobody is doing this
Ain't
kind
no,
of stuff. I
yeah,
mean,
nobody.
but I had done all this research on contracts and how the contracts worked and how to do this and how to do that. I mean, it just made it literally just made sense. And the whole purifying ourselves and taking the bath with the salt and the baking. So it was a very complex. It was the ritual was only complex because it was so outside of the way that we normally operate. But this seems like a totally different level. Like it's one thing to free the angelic realm to do what they're supposed to do, but it's a totally different thing to be. What we're talking about is freeing the elemental realm to do what needs to be
Mm,
done, because the angelic, we would not be able to have this knowledge like even come to us without the angelic realm having the capacity to get it to us
mhm.
somehow, right?
Right,
Because
right,
this is
right.
a this is very high level thinking. But
Yep.
what we're missing is what the social proof. That's the elementals. That's the on the ground. So we're talking
Mm,
about like the fairies, the gnomes, all they talk about all of these entities, but nobody ever asks, are they actually active? Because when I like a little while ago when I was talking about the well pump, if you put a well pump in your yard, right? Let's say you put a well pump in your yard and you put a like a well around it, because anyway, just to say you put a well around it. Well, if you put the begonias around it, because that's what I was really thinking. Well, if you plant those flowers are going to attract fairies. Those fairies are going to attract gnomes. Those gnomes are going to attract salamanders. The salamanders are going to attract uh the nymphs, right? Because of the water. And then you get the other elementals that it just spirals like out like a wave. Like, you again, those elementals will attract the angels will attract the archangels will attract the seraphim and the cherubim and all that. And now you have this one thing, which seems like, again, a very simple thing, to put a well in your yard, a well pump, and now you have all these entities attached to your property. So, okay, back to the French Haitian Empire. If you have people living like this, where they have these entities attached to their land, do you think it's possible that anybody from anywhere on the planet is going to come into your land and take it over? Not possible. They would have to have disabled all of these entities. And they did that by separating out the calendar, because all these entities work on different calendars. I mean, it took me a while to figure out the way that the planets worked on the calendar. I can't even conceptualize what this looks like for like fairies or nymphs or salamanders. They totally work on a different like way of understanding the time. And so if you separate all this stuff out, again, you're asking for something, because on the calendar it says at the beginning of the month you ask for X. Well, you're asking for this thing to show up, and the angels are doing their part from the higher realm because they've been freed, but you have the nymphs of the elemental spirits that they're just totally, like, again, asleep. Because I said, what happened to the fairies? Like, what happened to them? Like, people used to see fairies all the time. Now you get one here or there in Ireland. Like, people aren't seeing fairies here. People aren't seeing gnomes. You got Christy Gnome. It's like, she's a gnome. Like, oh, that's what she's a gnome. People are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, her name is Gnome without the G. She's clearly a gnome. Like, can't you see her? Like, she looks like a gnome, like, to me. And what do gnomes do? Gnomes protect the homeland. So you see it showing up like in the periphery, but we still don't see it for our personal use and our personal social proof. And so maybe that's what we literally have to ask for. We need the elementals to activate to allow us to have access to social proof. Because of course Jeff Bezos is using fairies to deliver his product. That's what the electrical version of that would be, a drone. Right? Because it's a physical thing. And so if you have people working
The electrical of
of a
what?
fairy would be a drone.
Yeah.
The electrical version, or the electrical version of a gnome would be, I used to work at Amazon, and they have robots that bring carts to, like, if you're doing the worst job in a warehouse, which is packing the carts. They have carts that come to you, and you pack them with whatever stuff you have on your thing. So imagine the physical, so basically the physical version of a gnome is that cart. Because what do gnomes do? They take stuff and hide it and protect it. And that's what those cards do, and they're all digital. So they've been slowly but surely, like, reactivating these elementals in the electric form. Because what would be an electric version of a nymph? That would be like boats, like electric boats, these super yachts. They all have super yachts. And the electric version of a fire elemental would literally be electricity, because that's what they use, these wires to carry the electricity to people's houses, even though you don't need wires for electricity. Oh, did you know that? You don't even need wires for the electricity is in this air. So the wires draw the electricity in. Not It doesn't come from a power station. It comes from the wires.
Wow.
I just recently found that out, and I was like, so you mean to tell me you don't need city water if you have a well pump, because all the city is doing is getting water from pumps that were already built. Now you don't even need, like, electrical wires, because you can put an antenna on your house and draw in the electricity too. It's like, what have they improved? All they did was put up a toll booth on everything. I guess if they could figure out to put a toll booth on air, they would do that too. But they couldn't quite figure
I
that
mean,
one out.
CO2. They're trying that with
Oh my
CO2.
god. Oh my god. How awful is this whole like, and but little stuff like this just it changes the whole narrative. They can't, they won't be able to recapture the narrative once we capture it. So we need the elementals, we need to forgive the elementals and ask them to and activate them to our kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's like,
not
look, you haven't enjoyed what was going on out there. Like, come join us.
right,
Work with us.
exactly.
Like, and we work with them as our peers and not as
Right.
these like out there powerful. Yes, they are powerful, but they're only as powerful as we are.
Yes.
And that's where it's like in many ways almost like a mind fuck, because at least how I interpreted the spiritual world was like they're beyond us, they're this,
Right.
they're that.
No,
But
no.
when we see them as our peers, well, like we move differently with them.
Right.
Because it's like, it's like a group project. It's
Right,
like, well,
exactly.
if you want the group project to do well, you have to be the one putting in the work. You have to
Wow.
be the one putting in the leadership. You got to be the one that sets when you're going to meet, how you're going to meet, this, that. If you're not the leader, you know how these groups work. No
Right.
one will do shit.
Right.
And that's what we've basically had to do is we've had to step up to the plate and figure out how to lead.
Right. How to lead a group we didn't even know we were leading.
And it's not just
Jesus.
humans.
And it's not just humans, it's all these different entities that have all these different things going on. It's funny because my kids go to a project based school, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she likes it, but she doesn't like it because she would like more structure. And so, but I was like, well, why did I bring y'all to like, how did I even get to this school? And it's like, it's project based. And the school that they went to when we were in Maryland, which also was a private school, was also project based. So I have unknowingly put my kids in schools that were based off these projects and not based off this testing and all this stuff. No, how well do you work with others? Not even considering that that's way more important for kids to know how to work with others of all different walks of life than it is to know how to take a test. They better, now I understand, they better know how to work with others. That's the most important thing. If you can't, look at how many different entities we have to work with on a daily basis to get something done as simple as, you know, just waking up in the morning. Some entity has to come and shake us so that we wake up. Or if it's our ears, from alarms, or if it's the sun, or all these different things have a spirit attached to it. And they all work together to wake us up in the morning. Like much less eat, much less drive, much less anything else. Like it's a team effort all day. And what do they teach people? Like they try to teach people to isolate, which is totally against the whole concept that it's a team effort being successful. So maybe it's also like the creator wants us to make sure that we give them the credit. Like, yes, the creator is the one who orchestrated it, right? And made sure it happened. He played in the symphony, but he wasn't playing all the parts. He has entities that played the part. So this is where we go from being a broadcaster to broadcasting a larger message to being a the conductor, where we're conducting the small group that's attached to us. Like it's this is where
Mm.
you go back and forth between this energy, and that feels like the energy that we have to kind of stay in, from being a broadcaster, forcing our will on the larger society and the NPCs, to being a conductor working with our small team, telling them, no, 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 focus on what I'm asking for. I need everybody on board to go and get what I asked for, because this is what I have to have. The general public isn't going to do that. That's your orchestra that's going to do that. So this is a very different way of thinking. Like, I this is a very different way of thinking. This whole thought process, it seems wild, but it's the only thing that makes sense. This is
Yeah, no,
wild.
and as the conductor, like as you know, an orchestra has all sorts of different
Right.
instruments and different players, and and men, women, different races,
Right.
the instruments all are different. They got to be hit at the right time with the same note. And you, as the conductor, you got to feel, as you said, hear, right?
Right.
The hearing.
Right. The
You got to be
hearing.
able to hear that and know when there's something that's off, when it's right, and just ignore the audience, because the audience is there's so much noise in the audience. But once you get clear with the orchestra, which really for me the orchestra is the spirits.
Right.
Like, sure, yeah, of course we're gonna have people around us, but like every time I've relied on humans, they have shown me that they're just not up to the task. And that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
The ones that I'm relying on is myself and my ability to conduct. Now, who's going to be in the orchestra? I really don't care.
Right.
But best believe I'm a conduct to whatever orchestra there is,
Right.
and I'm going to make sure that orchestra performs to the best of its abilities. And so what's happening is the spirits are all waking up from the music, the heavenly music that we are
Right.
conducting from our orchestra, and they are picking up their instruments and saying,
Right.
"Yeah, I want to follow this conductor. I like this conductor. I'm waking up. I'm being empowered." Boom, they start playing the flute, the tuba, the trombone, the drums, the this, the that.
Because you know who the
We
audience is? The audience is the deceiver. He is the one throwing tomatoes.
Yes.
Boo! You
Right,
suck.
right.
Get off the
Uh-huh.
mic. Like that's who the audience is. It's the deceiver. So
Yes,
like
yes.
again, just positioning all of this information so that it's so much easier to navigate when you understand what's going on. It feels like like the final piece has just been dropped into place. Like, oh, is this what's happening? Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like it just again, I
Well,
have
and
no
then notice,
words.
and then notice this. The audience is the deceiver. The moment you finish your piece and you look at the audience to bow, it's God.
No, right. Right. Because the deceiver is not even real.
It's God.
Wow.
The deceiver it had to play, like, in order for us to become the best conductors and to have the most amazing, beautiful orchestra ever created and performed, well, there had to be a deceiver.
Right.
But the deceiver was really just
Right.
God being, pulling the levers to get us to truly conduct. So when
Right.
we look back at the audience and the audience is clapping like they've never clapped before, it's God.
Wow.
It's like, I
Wow.
mean, how amazing is that?
I mean,
That's just spectacular.
that's the biggest plot twist. I couldn't write a story that good. Let me just put it that way. I could not write a story that good. Like I could not write a story this good. This is going to be a great miniseries one day. Like I could see it being like one of those 5-season shows. Like this is going to
Uh-huh.
be an unbelievable.
And it's gonna be our studio. Our studio is
Right.
gonna be the one that, funds it, produces it, all of it.
Right. Got to, because who else is going to tell this story? This is the kind of thing that has to be memorialized. Like every time it happens. I'm sure this is not the first time. It feels like the last time maybe, hopefully, but this has to be memorialized because kids have to know that this again the deceiver doesn't win. That entity can't win. It's a loser. And again, I said this the other day. I was like, I don't actually like being around losers. Like I don't know how to function around losers. And I feel like a lot of black people are just lose like they have lost so much they don't know how to be winners. And when you spend too much time with people who are literally just committed to losing, like, and being the best losers there are, like, how can you be around people like that before you start to be a loser like them? And I never understood that. I was like, but we're winners here. Look at this. This is our country and we built it and all this other. No, we didn't build this country. Someone else built it. Nah, we weren't here. It's like, so every win that you have, you're literally saying it belonged to somebody else. And you're not taking responsibility for any of the wins that you have. So these people are committed to being losers on paper, even though even if their own blood is calling out to them, like, you're not a loser. Like, nobody is a loser. If you made it to this planet in one piece, you're just not a loser. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But some people are just committed to being, that's another trick of the deceiver, is just like, hey, you're really a loser, by the way. Like, no, like, you're not a loser. And so these are the kind of things we have to again reject things that aren't real and confirm the reality. We're all winners. We all made it here. We all made it to this day. Therefore, we are winners. Even the ones who have passed on are here in spirit. Like, their spirit have not left, because everybody has to go through this process of evolving. Even our ancestors, even even the ones who will be born after us will be higher evolved than we are. And that is like an extreme accomplishment to what can be done if we just allow things to play out, and not try to be God, like, again, and work at the pleasure of the Creator. He's the best. He's This the kind of teaching you can't learn this in business school. Like, no one could teach you this. Experience is the best teacher. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and I think with the thing with the losers is because to be a winner, that's a big responsibility.
Right,
Very few people, people talk about wanting to be a winner, but they're not actually trying to be a winner, because to
right,
be a winner, like, I mean, as you're seeing with us right now, like, we are the winners.
right.
Like, this type of pressure on us would break the backs of people.
Absolutely.
And here we are doing it in many ways. Obviously, yeah, we're working our asses off out here, but, like, we're making it seem easy.
Right,
We're making it seem effortless. Like, we
right,
out here just, solve so much in what, the last 3 hours. But
right. I mean,
anyways,
I just said this earlier. Like, this is an exact conversation. We make it look effortless, so everybody thinks they can do it. But then when they have to actually get
uh-huh.
off their hind
Right.
parts and get it done, they can't do. The deceiver
Yeah, and
can't do this.
that's why they take
Yep,
from us and
yep.
run away. As you said, they go and do their own thing, profit from it. But guess what? You got to come back,
Right,
buddy. You got to keep coming back, because we actually know, without even realizing necessarily that we know, we're actually doing it because we serve the Lord. We're not
right,
serving ourselves. We're not here to benefit materially or this or that, or we're trying to get a leg up and win
right,
against other competition. No, we're here to serve the Lord. So y'all
right.
can keep trying to take from us, but, like, that ain't slowing us down, because we're
No,
not. The thing is, they take from us to build their empire in the physical,
right,
but then now they have to maintain the empire. They got politics, they got this, they got money this, money that. Meanwhile, the whole time we have been unencumbered to continue focusing on serving the Lord.
right. Exactly. Not affected, unaffected at all in the actual getting the actual work done. As a matter
And
of
as a
fact,
result, like with this conversation, it's just, we did so much.
right? No,
Any,
for real.
I don't think we've ever seen anybody in any of these spaces do what we're doing, literally what we just did.
No, I don't. I don't think, because I was generally perplexed. Like, I've generally been perplexed about this, but now I'm like, oh my god, this feels accurate. Like, this is the most. Again, who has the capacity either? Because we love so much, we have the capacity to do it. People don't. Again, all of these months are just, like I said. The way it started is has to you have to end it the same way. It started from a place of, I'm about to talk about all of this stuff, and it ends in the same place but moving in a different direction. And that's how it has to be. Like, there's
Mm,
no, like, you can't skip this part of putting these pieces together. And maybe it starts from, a point. For me, I'm always aggressive, but it always ends with, now I'm aggressive in a different reason,
right.
because it's like, there's all these babies, these poor baby spirits that have been asleep. They need to be helped. Totally different.
Uh-huh.
Same issue of, okay, these men don't know what's going on, but now it's like, does it matter? Like, what we talk about have nothing to do with no men. This is all about whatever is going on in the spirit realm and remedying that. The men issue has just,
Right.
the whole issue is just moot. It's like, yes, we have to reverse the curse, but it wasn't the curse that I thought it was. Is the curse that actually caused what happened. Because if we solve this problem, it solves the other problems. How do you get people to love themselves when every time they ask for something, it doesn't show up? If you reverse that part,
right.
then they start to love themselves because they're like, wow, the creator didn't leave me.
And they're
We have,
incentivized. They're
and they're
incentivized. They're
incentivized.
able to see through social proof that by being a good person, boom, you get
Right,
this, you get that.
right, right. Wow. Lord have mercy. This is huge. This is
Yeah, and I love, like I love the aggression that you come with, because I'm able to, receive it, embrace it, and be like, okay, let's, as you said, like, let's direct it here. Let's,
right,
because you're completely justifiable in everything that you feel. And
right,
for me, it's like, okay, here is the powerful energy of the woman, of her, of the sacred divine feminine. As the man, how do we find the solution? Like, how do we find the way to serve the feminine? And
right.
um, we just did that.
Right, exactly. Solve the whole problem. So now there's a blueprint. Again, when there's an energetic blueprint of something, especially like this, it can be copied. It's like, oh, this is what again, you play the masculine role, I did the weird feminine role, and there's a solution at the end. This is what I just know, that if women could have this feeling of, wow, this problem was solved, because again, the problem isn't about the people, it's about the fact that, hey, if you're asking for something, it needs to show up. Well, how do we solve that problem? It comes through the masculine energy, right? It rears its ugly masculine energy when it's unhealed, but it also comes to the masculine energy when it's actually healed too. It's both. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to
Right.
sort through the individuals in your life
Yep.
and figure
Exactly.
out who is going to bring which result, and focus in on that,
Mm-hmm.
solving those problems with that person. Like, this is a total revolutionary way of interacting with males and females. Like, this is not, nobody, people don't have the capacity to do this right now, but I'm hoping that it'll develop very quickly, because this is one conversation solve the whole issue.
Right.
Like, that's impossible. I usually, if I'm talking to my friend, between her and I, it takes us like 3 hours and we get close to it. We never quite square the circle. But this is like, okay, since I already had the same conversation with her earlier, we could square the circle, because I'm like, okay, this is obviously needs another like set of energy in it to solve the problem. Like, there's obviously something missing. And that's what Sita's curse was. She didn't have another person to help her solve the problem.
Right.
Nobody was there to support her. Like, why would she ask for a hole in the ground to open up and she just jump in? Because there was nobody there to say, hey, like, why are you even worried about like this? Because really the problem is X, Y, and Z. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Okay, I don't need the earth to open up and swallow me whole. But of course, the deceiver would say, yeah, you need the earth to open up and swallow you whole because you'll never get through to this man. Okay, all right, that sounds good to me. Unreasonable, totally unreasonable. But when you have the right, this is why it's important to have the right people around you. When you have the right people around you, you can get to solutions that you just can't get to by yourself. So that's why I was saying we have to come out of hermit mode and really talk to people, because this is something that everybody can do in someone else's life. They can see things from a different perspective and help that person move through the energy without taking drastic measures. That requires us to work together, not to isolate.
Yes, for sure. Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was very enjoyable. I look forward to
Absolutely.
our next spaces on Friday.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Have a good night.